Let's meet the class of 2017. In 1999, he went from unknown backup to NFL MVP and led the Rams to a Super Bowl title. And he'd win another MVP award before joining the Cardinals and leading them to their only Super Bowl appearance. Quarterback Kurt Warner. He's number 5 on the NFL's all-time rushing list and the league's record holder for touchdowns in a season with 31, a member of the all-decade team of the 2000s, LT LaDainian Tomlinson. This hard-hitting safety spent his entire career with the Seattle Seahawks, the Defensive Player of the Year in 1984 and a member of the all-decade team of the 80s, Kenny Easley. He played his college ball up the road in Akron and made his name as a fierce pass-rushing end in Miami. Number 7 on the all-time sack list, Jason Taylor. He played 25 seasons for 5 teams and made an NFL record 565 field goals. Only the second pure place kicker ever to enter the Hall of Fame, Morton Anderson. A 6th-round draft pick in 1995, he was a driving force behind back-to-back Super Bowl titles in Denver. He was a league MVP and a Super Bowl MVP. Terrell Davis. And in 1989, he spent a then record $150 million to buy the Dallas Cowboys. 6 years later, he hoisted his 3rd Lombardi Trophy. One of the most influential owners of any era, in any sport, Jerry Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, there they are, the Hall of Fame class of 2017. And with the offseason now in the rear-view mirror, Al Michaels with Chris Collinsworth. Michelle Tafoya joins us in a moment. Preseason starts tonight. Regular season 5 weeks from tonight. We'll be there, Kansas City at New England. 6 months from tomorrow, we'll be there too, the Super Bowl in Minneapolis. So come on along for what should be a fun ride. And, you know, I look at this class, partner, and I think about one word, eclectic.
Yeah, how about also 3 MVPs, 2 Defensive Players of the Year, the leading scorer in the history of the game, and the one and only Jerry Jones. We're going to have a lot of fun with these guys tonight.
Speaking of Jerry, his team, of course, in action tonight. Last year, after they had won 4 games the year before, rebounded to go 13-3, shocked everybody. What's your take on them now?
I thought 2016 was just stunning. I mean, we've talked about Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, remarkable rookie seasons. It just doesn't happen, right? And then their defense, top 5 scoring defense, kind of came out of nowhere, the leading rushing defense. But they made a lot of changes on the defensive side of the ball. We're going to get a chance to see some of those young players here tonight. Changes with the Cardinals as well. 2 years ago, they got to within a game of the Super Bowl, losing to Carolina in the NFC Championship game. Then last year, they skidded to 7-8-1. What do you think of that team? But remember, the Cardinals outscored their opponents last year by 56 points and had a losing record. That's impossible. You simply can't do that. Their offensive line was a mess, a lot of pressure on Carson Palmer all season. Their kicking game was terrible. But if there's one team that you look at and you say, which team could turn it around the quickest? I think it's the Arizona Cardinals. Agree with you. Ready to go back to school? Let's do it. So is Michelle Tafoya, the supreme Michelle Tafoya. Good evening, Michelle.
Well, hey, Al, I am with all 7 of the 2017 inductees, and tonight marks the beginning of an exciting weekend for these guys. The Gold Jacket Dinner tomorrow, the induction on Saturday. So I'm going to ask each of you the same question. Now that you're standing here in Canton, what is the most overwhelming emotion you're feeling? Kurt, we'll start with you.
I would just say astonishment. Amazed that I'm actually standing here right now with these amazing players in this position.
LT?
I'm just honored. I mean, it's an unbelievable place to be honored here and forever enshrined.
Kenny? Do you know the question? Most overwhelming feeling you're experiencing?
Stupendous. I'm not even gonna lie, I'm nervous. I'm nervous, nervous and emotional.
Morton?
Humbled, just humbled to be here.
Man, I'm just grateful to be here, you know? Just grateful to be with here, all these Hall of Famers. And I mean, look at this, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's got to be love. Love for these teammates, love for these families, love.
And Al, we'll be hearing extensively from all 7 of them throughout the game tonight. A lot to look forward to.
You bet, Michelle. A lot of fun coming your way tonight. It's Arizona against Dallas, and you'll hear from all of the Hall of Famers on this game.
National Football League.
Canton, Ohio, about an hour's drive south of Cleveland, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Of course, this is the weekend, and this is the revamped stadium. It used to be just the run-of-the-mill high school field for many, many years, and now it is the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, hard by Interstate 77. Capacity around 23,000, and tonight the 2 coaches. Bruce Arians begins his 5th season at the helm of the Cardinals. He's had a lot of success in Arizona. Longtime assistant several places, including Pittsburgh, with Ben Roethlisberger for years. And Jason Garrett begins his 7th full season as the Cowboys head coach. He actually took over in 2010, midway through the year, supplanting Wade Phillips. Right off the bat, we can tell you, and I'm sure you expect it, very few of the starters, if any, figure to play tonight, though most of the guys are in uniform. We're going to see a lot of free agents. We'll see a lot of rookies. We'll see Emmitt Smith, not only the class of 2017 here, but a ton of Hall of Famers will be in the building tonight. Kicking off is Sam Irwin Hill. Dan Bailey is their regular kicker, but he's another guy who won't see action tonight. So a rookie who was at Arkansas in 14, and T.J. Logan, about as fast as they come. Rookie back to run it back as Arizona won the toss, and they have elected to receive. So you'll see a lot of rookies, a lot of free agents, and during the course of the game, Michelle might have an opportunity to talk to a couple of guys who will be in the Hall of Fame someday, including one number 11 of the Arizona Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald. Each of these teams to play 5 preseason games. And off we go. The 2017 preseason campaign is underway, and it starts with a touchback. Take a look at the backfield for the Arizona Cardinals. Kerwin Williams, who backs up David Johnson, gets the start. J.J. Nelson sees a lot of action during the regular season, and the rookie from Grambling State, Chad Williams. Nicholas is the tight end, and Moma, the tight end from Boston College. And then up front, you've got 2 rookies, 2 guards, Will Holden and Dorian Johnson. And, of course, most of the starters will be in uniform but will not see action in this game. So Kerwin Williams, fourth year out of Utah State, who backs up, as we say, David Johnson. The offense built around Johnson. He gets the start at running back. And off play action back to pass is Blaine Gabbert. And it's up at the 37-yard line, caught by Moma, number 80. Blaine Gabbert is already in his 7th season in the National Football League. First-round pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Spent 3 years there. He spent 3 years in San Francisco. Started the first 5 games of the season with the 49ers and then lost his job, and Kaepernick finished up last year with the 49ers. From the 38-yard line. On first down, this is Williams. He goes through the middle. Picks up about 2. Now the Dallas defense, and they'll do a lot of rotating tonight and through the course of the season. Keep an eye on number 97, Taco Charlton, who was their #1 pick. Played his college football at Michigan. You got DeMontre Moore on the other side. Wilbur, Latulele, and Damian Wilson start as the linebackers. And they really revamped the secondary. We'll get into that. Awuzie is the rookie out of Colorado. Is looking for a guy who can fit the other side of that defensive secondary. Here's Kerwin Williams now. Williams takes the ball up to the 43-yard line, where it'll be third down. Byron Jones makes the tackle. Jones, one of the rare starters who's in the lineup tonight, number 31, the Dallas safety.
Yeah, Byron Jones, and they're really sort of fishing around now with this secondary. They made a lot of changes. Brandon Carr, Morris Claiborne, Barry Church, all gone from a very good secondary a season ago, so they're going to have to mix and match and find what works for this season.
Gabbert trying to win the backup job. You know that Carson Palmer will be the #1 guy. Drew Stanton at the moment is number 2. And Gabbert trying to impress, and that's pretty impressive right there as it's caught on the run at the 40. And taking the ball is Britton Golden all the way down to the 22-yard line. So Gabbert looking sharp at the outset. And a gain right there, 35 yards.
Gabbert very strong in the pocket, just stood right there. You're going to see Golden make the break in man coverage across the face of Anthony Brown. Big start there. Look at him, just very calm. He's been around 6 years. He knows what he's doing. He's seen every offense in the league so far. That guy has had to learn a new offense every year of his career.
At the 22-yard line. Cowboys pressing the line, now backing off. You don't see that much blitzing in preseason. And this is Williams around the outside, stays in bounds, and turns what might have been no gain into a gain of about 4. Kyle Wilbur makes the tackle.
Nice job that time by Blaine Gabbert, the veteran. He saw the blitz coming up over here on this other side, checked to a runaway, and ends up hitting a big pop on the outside. So you get a veteran quarterback in there, even though he doesn't have a lot of experience out there. And there's Taco Charlton on the outside, just unable to make the play on Kerwin Williams.
2nd and 7. There's Carson Palmer on the right. He'll get a lot of rest during the preseason. They want to keep him fresh. And Gabbert throws, and that is caught. And that'll be a 1st and goal as Moma makes the catch, picks up the first down. 3rd-year free agent out of Boston College.
Fonny Moma, here's a guy that ended up doing some good things when we saw him early in a preseason game. He just has huge size, and you could see Gabbert just taking advantage, throwing it up high where he could end up making a play. But I tell you, this is one impressive drive so far for a guy in Blaine Gabbert who knows very little about this offense.
3 for 3 for 57 yards. And now finding the hole over right guard goes Kerwin Williams to the 5-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and goal on the game's opening drive.
Well, Kerwin Williams is the guy that's been a backup quarterback, at least the shotgun wildcat kind of a quarterback in the past. He averaged out over 8 yards a carry last year, and a lot of that came in that wildcat offense where he was playing quarterback, and you see some of that elusiveness right there.
Picked in the 7th and last round by Indianapolis 4 years ago. 2nd down and goal. Here he is again. To the outside, he swings and into the end zone for the touchdown. So the Cardinals begin the preseason after a touchback. They go 75 yards. Gabbert 3 out of 3. Williams carries 5 times for 18 yards, and into the end zone he goes.
Really nice job over here on the left side by these tight ends on the outside. You got Troy Nicholas, who's an excellent blocker back in his days at Notre Dame. Fonny Moma, the other one, getting Kerwin Williams into the end zone.
Richie Leone is their place kicker tonight. They picked up Phil Dawson, the ageless one, in the offseason, so Dawson will be their kicker during the regular season, and this was the real bugaboo for the Cardinals last year. Special teams and in particular the kicking game. So there is Dawson. He'll see a little bit of action during preseason and be ready by the opening game of the year.
Yeah, Bruce Arians loved how cocky Phil Dawson is. Just it's like having a veteran out there that you know they're going to make these clutch kicks that they simply missed a season ago.
Reason for the delay, they were checking to see whether he did indeed get into the end zone upstairs. Give him the okay sign, and now Leone for the extra point, the 33-yard extra point, and that is good. So we played 4 minutes and 14 seconds in Canton, Ohio. Arizona 7, Dallas nothing. So now Arizona, after taking the lead, Richie Leone is going to kick off. Lance Lenoir is a rookie from Western Illinois. And he's back to receive. And the kick is a short kick, and it's fielded up at the 15-yard line. And that's Keith Smith who runs the ball back to about the 26. Now let's take a look at the Cowboys and some of the guys you'll see in action here. Darren McFadden would be their backup back to Ezekiel Elliott. Butler saw a lot of action last year. Jones on the other side. Gathers is a good story. We'll talk about him. The basketball playing tight end out of Baylor. And up front you've got those guys with Lyle Collins, who might wind up with that right tackle job. Of course, up front they're really set, of course, with Frederick and Martin and Tyron Smith, so they won't see action tonight. But we could see a good bit of Mr. Collins. Kellen Moore is the quarterback, and the first pass is knocked down. Kareem Martin is the guy who knocked it down at the line of scrimmage. So Kellen Moore last year was the backup to Tony Romo. He goes to camp, and before Romo got hurt, Moore broke his leg. So he was shelled for the season. And then when Romo got hurt toward the end of preseason, that put that man, Dak Prescott, in action. And of course, we all know that story and what he did, leading the team to a 13-3 mark. So Moore, who might have ascended to the #1 spot in preseason, never had that opportunity. And now McFadden takes the ball up to the 28-yard line.
Here he goes. Robert Kimdichie is a guy that's really going to have to play big this year for the Arizona Cardinals. They have lost some valuable members of that defensive line, most particularly Calais Campbell, who's off to Jacksonville now. A lot of pressure on that young man right there to stand up and deliver. Not quite a season ago, but they've been impressed so far this year.
Got into only 5 games with 80-some snaps last year. On 3rd down and 8, Moore throws, and that's caught, but it'll be short of a first down. Andy Jones makes the grab. So Kellen Moore, the only left-handed quarterback on any roster right now in the National Football League, is 3 and out.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine, even though Kellen Moore was the #2 guy, with the way that Dak Prescott played in preseason last year, that he wouldn't have ascended to the #1 guy anyway. But who knows? You never know on that one.
Sam Irwin Hill, the punter. Chris Jones will do the punting during the regular season. High angle kick, and there's contact, and a flag comes down, and another one comes in before the opportunity to make the grab. So that was Kayvon Frazier, our first flag of the night. The referee tonight is Jerome Boger, and we'll get the call momentarily.
Kick, catch, interference. Kicking team, number 35. 15-yard penalty. Arizona keeps the ball. First down.
All right, Cardinals get it back, leading 7-0 in Canton, Ohio. What a year. Win the Super Bowl. He's the MVP, 41 touchdown passes, and the beginning of a Hall of Fame career. From the 36-yard line now, Gabbard, who looked very good in that first drive, has to scramble here and gets taken down from behind by Anthony Brown. Speaking of Kurt Warner, here he is with Michelle.
And as we all know, Kurt, you took a unique tour to get here to Canton. I mean, the path of, that no one would have thought.
Right.
So how does that shape the experience you're having right now?
Well, I tell you what, part of it makes it really surreal because you're like, after all of that, you actually end up here. But I think the other side of it is that what I know is, being enshrined in the Hall of Fame and having the bust and being a part of this is that no one else will ever have my story. No one ever will take the path that I took. And to me, that's one of the things I'm most proud of, is that I get a chance on Saturday night to be able to share my story and hopefully encourage and inspire other people, because this is more realistic. The crooked path is much more realistic than the straight line path to the Hall of Fame.
Well, part of that story Al was just talking about. 1999, Trent Green gets injured. You step in and have one of the greatest seasons a quarterback's ever had. You win the Super Bowl. What's your favorite memory of that season?
Well, I mean, I think the favorite memory has to be the play that wins the Super Bowl, is, to throw a touchdown pass to Isaac with 2 minutes to go. But it was really the moment before that I was standing on the sideline with Coach Vermeil, and he walks up to me and he goes, "This is how you played it in your front yard a million times. 2 minutes to go, ball in your hands, now go win the Super Bowl." And so to have your first season play out as magically as it did, and then to throw a touchdown pass with 2 minutes to go to win the Super Bowl, I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that.
And speaking of Coach Vermeil, your hug with him is one of the most memorable images from Super Bowl 34. That was more than 17 years ago. What emotions? There it is. You can see it. What does that bring back to you?
I mean, I tell you what, it's just, I love the man so much. I mean, when you know Dick Vermeil, you know that he wears his heart on his sleeve and he loves his players, and everybody wants to compete for him. But, for me, it was just, for so long, I just waited for somebody to give me an opportunity, for somebody to believe in me. And that's the guy that did. And unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to be together very long. But just our time together and the fact that the way he loves me and the way that he pulled for me in that 1 year and giving me that chance, I mean, so many emotions come back. But the biggest thing is just, I just love the man. And I was so happy that I was able to be a part of his first championship, and that he was able to be a part of mine.
Until this class, only 2 wives have presented their husbands for enshrinement. And it was obviously very important for you to have your wife, Brenda, here to present you. Why?
Well, I think the bottom line is there's so many great people you can choose. Your parents, Coach Vermeil, 7 kids, would love to have one of them. But the bottom line was that there's been one person that has shared every part of that crooked road with me. Every up, every down was there, every, excuse me, every interception, sorry, for the whole thing. And so, I'm sorry.
You're choked up. It's okay.
That must be what it is, man. But I mean, I just thought she deserved to share that stage with me. And so, to me, it was really an easy decision.
Congratulations. Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And what a story. I mean, when you think about Kurt Warner, he played in the Arena League. He played in Europe. He was boxing groceries in Iowa. Meanwhile, this drive continues. It's going to be 1st and goal with Andre Ellington taking it inside the 5. So Blaine Gabbert looking extremely sharp, 6 of 6 for 107, and the Cardinals on their way to the end zone for the 2nd consecutive series.
Just looping right over here, but I tell you, for the story of this game so far has been Blaine Gabbert. Here's a guy that's just bounced around the NFL, a high draft choice, really hadn't done a whole lot positive in the National Football League. He comes out with a bunch of guys he doesn't know well, and an offense he doesn't know well, and has been taking the Cardinals up and down the field in this game.
Now from the 3-yard line, working his way through the middle and into the end zone goes Andre Ellington for the touchdown. So the Cardinals went 75 yards on their first drive. On this one, they start after a penalty at their own 36. They go 64 yards in 7 plays to take a 2-touchdown lead.
Watch the center, Cole Toner here. Just get him out of the hole. Get him out of the way. That is a monster hole down on the goal line. Cole Toner, the first Harvard guy drafted on that offensive line since Matt Burke many moons ago. He was a good student too, and he got a huge hole that time for the touchdown.
Now Leone comes in for the extra point. Blaine Gabbert, the 10th overall pick in the 2011 draft by Jacksonville. Flag goes down, and for the moment the kick goes through, and we'll get the call from Boger. The backup running backs in Arizona will not see a lot of action this year.
Illegal formation.
Jerome checking.
Illegal formation, defense, number 74. The penalty is half the distance to the goal, and we now will try a 2-point try from the 1-yard line.
All right, so you can take the point even though the extra point was good. You can take it off the board, and now you can put the ball down at the 1-yard line and go for 2 points. And it's preseason. Might even do it in the regular season. They're going to go for 2.
Well, why not? They've been going about 10 yards a clip up and down the field here so far, and the Cowboys really haven't done much to try and stop them. I know these are backup guys for the most part up front, but there's a few guys that are going to be seeing the playing field for the Cowboys too. So far it's been all Cardinals.
Mike Tomlin's made this standard operating procedure going for 2, and especially from the 1-yard line after the penalty. And Gabbert to the end zone, and that is broken up in the end zone. J.J. Nelson, the intended receiver, but a flag comes down. Leon McFadden covering, and if it's against him, it puts the ball at the half-yard line.
Pass interference, defense, number 23. Half the distance to the goal, redo the try for point.
Well, you see defensive backs doing this all the time, trying to time out, sticking that hand up through the hands of the receiver here to break it up, but you can't do that little tug beforehand and get engaged there too soon. So that's what the official saw. So this is the longest extra point in history here so far.
From the 18-inch line, Gabbert will do it himself, and he works his way into the end zone for the 2-point conversion. Played a little bit less than 10 minutes, all Arizona to this point, 15-0. Passing and rushing yards. They came close, though, losing to Green Bay in a thriller in a divisional game last year in Arlington. Either of these guys will see action tonight. Again, going with the second, third unit guys, some free agents, a lot of rookies. 15-0 Arizona on top. Lance Lenoir is back to receive, and Richie Leone kicks off for the Cardinals. Bouncing ball. Lenoir fields at the 7-yard line. And the coverage is good as he's taken down at the 22. And there's a flag down on the play. All the flags tonight have come on special teams to this point.
Yeah, and reality is special teams may be the most important part of this game because that's where these guys are going to fit.
Holding, receiving team, number 23, 10-yard penalty. Dallas keeps the ball, first down.
So you know about Tony Romo, and there he is. Tony now part of the #1 crew on CBS, working with the great Jim Nantz, and there they are. They're practicing tonight. They know they're on television because they're taking our feet. Howdy, boys. Tony's going to be great. Jim, of course, is terrific. Great coach. You got Bryant. You got Prescott there.
But did they show where they are? They're like in another city over there. They couldn't have put them any farther away.
They're in an outpost. Moore rolling off the play action, and it's a 9-yard gain as he swings it out to Keith Smith. So you have the stadium, and then you've got about, what, 60 or 70 yards, and there it is. They built that outpost. Good thing you and I are not out there.
I couldn't even see the field. There you go, Tony. It'll get easier, believe me. Once you can actually see the field, it'll get a lot easier.
Best of luck to those guys. They'll do a great job.
That'll be great.
2nd down and 2 with the ball at the 19-yard line. 4.5 to go in the opening quarter. Moore to McFadden, and he gets buried, taken down behind the line of scrimmage. 3rd down, loss of 3. It'll be make it loss of 4. It'll be 3rd down and 6.
I'll tell you, right here is the defensive star of the game so far. Robert Kimdichie is just going right through Joe Looney on that play, and that's what they need out of him because that's what they got out of Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell was this guy that would get up, get the penetration, the outside pass rushers could get there. If Kimdichie plays like that, it's going to be a good year for the Cardinals.
So Ty Matthew, great safety on the Cardinal bench. 3rd down and 6. Good protection this time from Moore, and he picks up a 1st down, but there is a penalty. Blake Jarwin, the tight end, makes the catch. Let's see if it comes back or whether Dallas gets its first down. Arizona has 8 so far tonight. Bruce Arians.
Illegal use of hands, hands to the face, defense number 26. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a 1st down.
Brandon Williams.
Brandon Williams, a running back in college that was converted to playing corner. Didn't go so well. They are hoping that Justin Bethel takes that job and that you continue to see progress out of Brandon Williams. An unbelievable athlete. I mean, if he just needs to play cornerback some more.
Patrick Peterson on the left, been to the Pro Bowl his entire career, all 6 years at this point. Moore going deep, has a man wide open and hits him. And it is Bryce Butler deep into Arizona territory. So taking advantage after the penalty, threw it over the cornerback Harlan Miller all the way down to the 25-yard line.
Harlan Miller gets beat, but he gets beat by a good one. And Bryce Butler was brought over from Oakland when Dez Bryant got hurt a few years back. And he is a star. He's a big guy. He had 3 touchdowns, made some big plays replacing Dez Bryant a season ago. Just like that. He is a talented guy who's going to be a big factor this year.
Fadden swings to the outside, and he gets bunched up before he can turn the corner. Kimdichie is in on that play as well, along with Budda Baker, the rookie out of Washington, the #2 draft choice, number 36. Kellen Moore had a fantastic college career. Played at Boise State. He was 50-3. Kid who grew up in southern Washington State, town of about 5,000 people. Dad was his high school coach, and one of the reasons he was not drafted, he was a free agent when he signed with Detroit, was the fact he's only 5'11" or 6 feet. They thought he was too small.
Yeah, he said he'd been running the same offense since 3rd grade. His dad was a coach, and they only had a couple of teams, so they all ran the same offense.
2nd and 14, shoots it underneath, and that's caught by Keith Smith. He takes the ball to the 26-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 11.
If you're a Cowboys fan, nothing more important going on in the field than right there. Lyle Collins playing right tackle now, taking over for Doug Free. Got a little help from his friend Keith Smith on that one with a good chip. But if Lyle Collins can hold down that right tackle position, it is going to be an awfully tough offense to stop this year for the Dallas Cowboys.
And then all they have to do is fill the left guard spot.
couple of candidates there as well. Jonathan Cooper started this game.
Who was an Arizona Cardinal until the year before last. Now Moore sliding in the pocket and throws, and that is a fingertip catch for the touchdown by Rico Gathers. He's Baylor's all-time leading rebounder in basketball. Hasn't played football since the 8th grade, on the practice squad last year, and hauls this one in. Good hands.
Unbelievable. His first football practice since he was like 13 years old came with the Dallas Cowboys last year. They drafted him. He was a good player at Baylor, and they just wasn't a football guy. So they said, all right, we're just going to redshirt him. We're going to let him go. But they started looking at him, and they said, this guy could be a real matchup problems for teams at tight end. Run him down the middle, run him on routes like that. Could he go up and rebound in the NFL like he did in college? We just saw it.
6'6" and 285 pounds. Got position on the defensive back. Iron hit Allen. And it pays off with a touchdown from 26 yards out. So they go 89 yards to the Cowboys, and the score is now 15-7, Arizona. Fame. And there is the statue of Mr. Benson, the owner of the New Orleans Saints. Kickoff fielded 6 yards deep. Logan's going to come out, the speedster. He's going to run it out of the end zone, and showing some flash and dash all the way up to the 38-yard line. And we go to Michelle.
Well, Al, one of the few Dallas starters to actually start tonight. Anthony Brown is out with a right hamstring injury, the second-year player out of Purdue, part of that young secondary the Cowboys are trying to develop. Out for the rest of the night, Al.
All right, Michelle, he looked pretty good last year, 6th-round pick out of Purdue.
I tell you, Al, the last 4 or 5 games of the season, he played as well as anybody. He was absolutely fantastic and will be sorely missed. They need him back, no question about it.
Part of the reason they let Carr and Claiborne go to free agency. From the 36-yard line, out of the shotgun now, Gabbert, and he gets run out of bounds. You know, Gabbert came in with Jacksonville. We mentioned before, very high draft choice back in 11. Take a look at that. He had 4 different head coaches because Del Rio got fired toward the end of the year. Tucker took over. Then they had Malarkey and Bradley and 3 different offensive coordinators. So then you think it would settle down. He goes to San Francisco. He's got Harbaugh, Tom Sula, and Chip Kelly with Roman, Christ, and Modkins as the offensive coordinators. Now he comes over here. Arians the coach. Harold Goodwin, the offensive coordinator, is calling the plays tonight. So 8 different head coaches and 7 coordinators.
I think he just goes out and does the best he can. So far, the best he can do is pretty darn good.
Yeah, looking great tonight. Fires it over the middle. Jeremy Ross makes the catch. And Ross, out of the University of California, free agent, takes the ball all the way to the 34, gain of 29 yards.
What a great throw here by Gabbert. I mean, this thing, watch him throw it to the back shoulder, which was the only thing open. You could see the coverage was absolutely there on the play, but by the time he threw it to that back shoulder, it ended up just being an easy catch. Gabbert just looks so calm and relaxed in the pocket right now.
Waning seconds of the first quarter, the ball at the 34-yard line. On the ground, they give it to Andre Ellington. He takes it to the 33, and that's going to take us into the second quarter. End of 1. Arizona 15, Dallas 7. More from the Hall of Fame game after these messages. Trio, most touchdowns in the history of the league. Jerry Rice, 208. Emmitt Smith, who's here tonight, 175. And then LT, 162 with the San Diego Chargers.
It's always amazing to see a wide receiver as the leading touchdown scorer in the league. It's just an amazing player.
Well, he separated himself from everybody else who's played that position. Second down and 9. A little dump off here with the pressure put on. And it's Ellington seeing a lot of work tonight to the 31-yard line, and we go to Michelle.
And I am with LaDainian Tomlinson, and you know, LT, there's the excitement and the emotion of this weekend. But then there's also this idea of your bust, which is right behind us, by the way, living forever in that Hall of Fame. How does that strike you?
It's truly amazing. You know, it's something that's hard to even fathom, you know, being remembered forever. But more importantly, I think my family name, that's what I think about, that family name of Tomlinson, and how proud so many people are of me that I've made it to this point. You know, my kids' kids will be able to come here. This is, Marshall said it years ago, this is football heaven, and I'm truly honored to be here now.
And you chose, oh, hang on, let's go to Al.
Well, right now you've got Damian Wilson, who forced the issue right there, and it gets recovered back at the 43-yard line. And we go back to Michelle.
Well, you chose Lorenzo Neal, your former fullback, to present you. Why did you choose him?
Well, I just believe he deserves this opportunity. He's such a selfless player, a guy that blocked for 7,000-yard rushers. But so much of my success, all those touchdown runs, record-breaking runs, he was a vital part in that. And I just felt like it's only right on this biggest stage of my life, going into the Hall of Fame, that he should lead me into the Hall of Fame, just like he did on so many of those runs.
I love that symbolism. Jim Brown and Walter Payton are two of the running backs you've always admired. Now you're going to join them in the Hall of Fame. But what do those two guys mean to you?
Everything. You know, they gave me the inspiration. You know, I inspired to be like those guys. They allowed me to dream big. Of course, Jim and Walter set the example not only on the field but off the field of how a professional should act. And I wanted to be like those guys in every sense of the word, professional. And so I'm so glad to be joining those guys in that bus room. You know, I took a trip there a couple of months ago, and walking through that room, it is so surreal to know that I'm going to be joined with those guys. Unbelievable.
There are a lot of exciting running backs in the game today. So I'm going to put you on the hot seat. Let's say you're the GM, and you can only take one of the current crop. Who would you pick?
Wow, that's a really good one. Well, I think at this point it'll come down to Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. You know, two of the, to me, the most versatile runners in our game. And if I had to pick one, geez, I'm splitting hairs, probably Le'Veon Bell.
Well, there you have it. Hey, congratulations, Al, the second LT in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, as Alfred Morris carries again to the 23. You know who the original LT was. There he is, Lawrence Taylor. In fact, it was bizarre. Remember when Tomlinson went to the Jets at the end of his career, they were calling him LT, and in New York they would go, no. There's only one LT.
I always loved Parcells' speech when he was up there getting inducted himself, and he said, I want my bus right next to LT's. I keep an eye on that sucker.
Right. That was classic. So LaDainian Tomlinson to be enshrined on Saturday. Now from the 23-yard line, Moore, and he lost one deep downfield, and nobody is home. Busted route. It'll be second down and 10. Here's a look at the Cardinals' first-round pick. Hassan Reddick, rookie, played at Temple, drafted in the first round, and they think he could wind up as a starter on opening day.
Wasn't even recruited coming out of high school. Had a couple of injury years, and he ended up going to Temple just as a regular student, and he didn't even get to eat with the football team. So his mom took out a loan so that she could pay for the meal plan so he could actually eat with the football team. And he ends up being a top 15 draft choice in the National Football League. Tough position change now. We'll see how he does.
Great story. Here goes Morris again, the former Redskin. And Morris showing some nifty moves all the way up to the 49-yard line. Now, we'll get into the Ezekiel Elliott thing a little bit later in terms of whether he's going to get suspended or not. We'll talk about that. But if he does, they can go to McFadden, and they can also go to Alfred Morris. So they've got two veteran backups who can do the job.
Yeah, we were just talking about Hassan Reddick. He came off the edge there, sort of looped around the outside. This line washed everybody down. They just shoot through the hole right there. There really wasn't much there at all. But that was Alfred Morris looking like he did his rookie year with the Redskins when he ran for over 1,600 yards.
He and RG3 formed a pretty good duo at that point at the 50-yard line. Tackle is made there after a gain of 2. It'll be second down and 8.
And just keeping an eye on Hassan Reddick here, obviously such a big part of this Arizona Cardinals defense. Remember, in college, he was an edge pass rusher, a guy that came off the edge, so athletic, great moves out there. Now they're asking him to move inside, which is a completely different way of looking at football. And as you watch him throughout the course of this game, you can see he's just trying to see the whole picture instead of just one side of the field.
Moore on 2nd and 9, throws down the sideline, and that's busted up at the end of the play. Butler, the intended receiver, broken up by Brandon Williams.
Well, here's a better look at it here. Son Reddick, when he was in college, he probably had those 3 guys to worry about. Maybe the tight end, the tackle, the back, and that was his field of vision. Comes around and makes a big sack. Now you play inside. You're responsible for both directions. You have no idea, run, pass. You're not just coming after the quarterback. So you really have to just retrain those eyes to be able to make the plays, and that's what he's working on right now. And so far, they feel really good about him. James Betcher, his defensive coordinator, said it's the best position change, bar none, I've seen anybody make so far.
3rd down and 9. Moore down the left side again, and reaching for it is Bryce Butler, who scored the touchdown earlier, makes the catch. Brandon Williams with the tackle. So Butler having a big game.
Well, this is just a veteran move. What's the hesitation out here on the outside? He's going to run. Looks like he's going to stop. Will hesitate, and then just lost Brandon Williams, and then makes another great play. I really like Bryce Butler. We'll see if this ball hit the ground or not, but he has been making some plays so far out here tonight.
32 yards. This would have to be challenged by Bruce Arians.
I think the ball hit the ground, but it really was under his control, so I thought it was a catch.
Well, Bruce has chosen not to throw the challenge flag, and Alfred Morris over the right side now to the 18-yard line. Will be 2nd down.
Let's take a look. Son Reddick right here. Now, can he get off some of these big offensive linemen? That's an art unto itself. You don't want to end up getting engulfed by those guys, so you want to jam into them, be able to free up, be able to make the play. Yet another skill he's going to have to learn on the fly here.
2nd down and 9. Blitz coming. Moore gets it away, and the pass is incomplete. Brown looks around for a flag. There is a flag on the play. That's Noah Brown, 7th round pick, rookie out of Ohio State, Brandon Williams.
Pass interference. Defense number 26. Spot the foul. Automatic 1st down.
And that is Brandon Williams.
Well, if you're thinking the Arizona Cardinals and Brandon Williams are playing a lot of man coverage, get used to it, because that's what they do. And they're going to do double moves, and they're going to challenge the weakest link, and they're going to get after Brandon Williams here to see what happens. Here comes Reddick off the edge, getting back to a little bit more of his natural position of getting after the quarterback, and that inside linebacker for Arizona is going to do a lot of blitzing anyway, so believe me, he'll be after the quarterback.
Put the ball at the 9-yard line, and Morris puts the shoulder down and takes the ball about half the distance to the 5, where it'll be 2nd down and goal.
Yeah, looked like Buda Baker coming up and making a play there, their 2nd round draft choice, and a guy that I think adds a little excitement to this defense, number 36. He is going to look a lot like Tyrann Mathieu, the other safety, a little bit of a do-it-all kind of guy, can play the slot, can play back, can play corner if needed. He can really run.
2nd and goal from the 5. Repositioning Noah Brown. And then the handoff goes to Morris, who's done the heavy lifting on this drive to the 4-yard line. He goes, it'll be 3rd down and goal. Morris has now carried 7 times for 43 yards.
There you go, Hassan Reddick right here. Now watch him sniff this one out. He's got his gap responsibility. There it is. Go get it. Really wasn't that tough of a read. You would think maybe a week from now, a couple of weeks from now, he'd be on that even faster. But there's a guy, Tyrann Mathieu, that I tell you, until he hurt his knee in 2015, was playing about as well as anybody in the league.
3rd and goal. Moore sliding, looking, throwing too high, and incomplete. It'll be 4th down. Rico Gathers, the 6'6" tight end, the intended receiver. 4th down.
Well, pretty good though. This game so far for a bunch of guys that sort of get thrown together and they probably don't get a lot of practice time together, has kind of been going up and down the field. I think these 2 head coaches, at least on the offensive side, going to be pretty happy with what they've seen so far.
Yeah, we've done a few of these games. It can get very sloppy and penalty filled, but that has not been the case to this point. One quarterback is 8 for 8. The other is 7 of 11. This is Sam Irwin Hill, rookie out of Arkansas, just trying to catch somebody's eye, because you know Dan Bailey will be their man once the regular season begins. And the kick is good. So a 23-yard field goal Tax on 3 more, 15-10 as you look at Hall of Famer Andre Reed, the former Bill. There 5 weeks from tonight. That means we will be in Foxborough. They'll raise the banner. Bill Belichick will be there. Tom Brady will be there. Happy 40th to Tom, and the Kansas City Chiefs will be there. All on NBC 5 weeks from tonight, starting at 7:30 with the NFL kickoff show driven by Hyundai. Chiefs, Pats, and that will get us going. Tom Brady getting a lot of gifts today, no question about that. What a way to start the season. And if anything, you know, the Patriots are picked by many to do it again. They've gotten better, let's face it, in the offseason.
They've gotten better. They got a better receiver. They got a better cornerback. And they didn't lose their other cornerback, Malcolm Butler. So it's going to be an exciting team to watch again. But I don't think it could get any more exciting than that Super Bowl last year. That was unbelievable.
I don't think the Falcons necessarily would agree with that.
Oh.
Speaking of the Falcons, we're going to go down week 2 on a Sunday night. Green Bay at Atlanta, and open up what appears to be a spectacular new stadium.
That's fun when we get to do it, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, great. We've opened up a few through the years, including Foxborough many, many moons ago. 15-10 is the score. Arizona gets the ball. They lead by 5. And the kick will bound out of bounds. And they'll bring the ball back up to the 40-yard line after that.
Free kick, out of bounds, kicking team number 2. The ball will be placed at the 40-yard line, first down.
So a lot of folks think, well, this is the window beginning to close in Arizona because Carson Palmer is in his late 30s. Larry Fitzgerald on the other side. Will he come back? We don't know yet. Bruce Arians comes back for a 5th year. And happy to report that all is well with Bruce, who had a lot of medical issues over the past couple of years. Steve Keim on your right is the GM. Michael Bidwell, the owner of the team, and they have done a great job in the desert resurrecting this franchise over the past 2 years. Handoff now goes to Ellington. Stopped at the line of scrimmage. Speaking of the Cardinals and speaking about the Arizona desert where a lot of people go to retire, well, Fitz is 33. Carson is 37. Head coach Bruce Arians is 64. And then Tom Moore is 78 years old. And Tom Pratt, who was a coach in Super Bowl I under Hank Stram, is 82 years old. And there is the great and fabled Tom Moore, who they tell us last week passed his physical with flying colors as the passes drop. And as Bruce Arians said the other day talking about Tom Moore, he said, hey, listen, a couple of packs a day and some Chardonnay and you too can look that healthy at 78.
Oh my God, Tom Moore is one of the all-time great ones, isn't he? Oh, I used to love talking to him back in Indy, and after they were going up and down the field and Peyton Manning, you could never get him to say anything other than That Peyton's something, isn't he? That's all he kept saying. That Peyton's something, isn't he?
I asked him how he coaches Peyton Manning. He said, just give him some concepts. 3rd and 10, and that pass is low and incomplete, intended for Ellington. So Gabbert had completed his first 8 passes and now throws 2 incomplete in a row on his 4th down.
And for the Dallas Cowboys, they crank it up a notch on the defensive side. Could not have 2 more different styles of defensive play. The Cowboys play more 2 deep safety look than any team in the league. And Arizona Cardinals are always blitzing everybody on the field and basically never play that 2 deep look.
Matt Wiles' punt, fair caught at the 20-yard line by Lance Lenore. 6:55 to go in the half. Arizona leads by 5. Jerry Jones, of course, the owner of the team, with son Jerry Jr. And we're going to speak to Jerry at halftime, another Hall of Fame inductee, and find out a little bit later exactly what is going on.
Yeah, and Jerry was adamant that he's seen the evidence and he's not buying into it. So yet to unfold, I guess.
From the 20-yard line on 1st down. Moore, who got off to a shaky start. Flag is down on a pass that's behind Noah Brown. Referee is Jerome Boger, who says
holding, offense, number 63, 10-yard penalty, replay, 1st down.
And down we go to Michelle.
Well, Al, the Cowboys and Elliott have been waiting a year for the NFL to finish that very thorough investigation into allegations of domestic violence, a case described to me by an NFL source as, quote, complicated. Now, the decision could come as early as next week. Elliott was never criminally charged, but the NFL can still punish the running back under the league's personal conduct policy, where violations involving domestic violence carry a baseline 6-game suspension. And although mitigating factors could affect that, the source told me no decision has yet been made.
All right, thank you, Michelle. As Rod Smith picks up 5, we got another flag down here. The speculation has been that if he gets suspended, it would be 2 games, which would mean the opener against the Giants.
Defense, number 95, 5-yard penalty, automatic. 1st down.
automatic first down. Will be the opener against the Giants and then at Denver week 2. Back to Michelle.
Well, if Elliott is suspended, Al, he could appeal before the start of the season. So theoretically, he could play until the appeal is litigated. Now, in late June, Elliott had a hearing with NFL investigators, Roger Goodell, and a 4-person independent panel, which, by the way, includes a former player and other experts. That panel will make a recommendation to Goodell, but the decision is ultimately the commissioner's to make.
And as you know, Michelle, a lot going on off the field with the Cowboys during the offseason. As Moore throws, and that is caught by Andy Jones. Out to the 40-yard line he goes for a gain of 20.
And from Michelle, it also is only about that domestic violence allegation. It has nothing to do with a couple of other things that have happened since, correct?
That is correct. And DeMontre Moore is also suspended for the first couple of games. David Irving, the great linebacker, what a year he had last year. Defensive lineman, actually, he'll be out for 4 games. I think I'm missing linebackers of all the sacks he gets. Here's Rod Smith up to the 41-yard line. Short gain, second down.
Yeah, and for the Cowboys, it's going to be an issue on the defensive side because they have, we know, Randy Gregory suspended for the season. David Irving, one of their best pressure guys, is going to be out for 4, and then DeMontre Moore is going to be out for 2. So it is going to be a tough way to start the season, and then you conceivably, Ezekiel Elliott, you don't know, but I'm with Michelle. I think that the Cowboys will probably try and time it out. If you're going to appeal it, you would definitely like to have Ezekiel Elliott there for that Giants game because those are the 2 favorites in that division. Let's face it, that's a huge game.
And at Denver week 2, 2nd and 8. Little flip here to Keith Smith up to the 46. You had Rod Smith carrying the ball before. Rod Smith is the brother of Jalen Smith, another guy that we won't see tonight, but he was the pick out of Notre Dame last year, got hurt in the Fiesta Bowl, missed the entire season. Done a great job rehabbing. He's looked pretty good in practice out in Oxnard where the Cowboys train, and probably see him before the preseason's done.
Well, I saw a lot of Jalen Smith. He played with my son at Notre Dame, and you talk about a flashy player, a guy that occasionally would hit the jets and run plays down in the backfield, shooting the gaps through defenses that just took your breath away. He was spectacular.
Moore throws, and that's caught up at the 50-yard line by Blake Jarwin, trying to win a job as a backup tight end. When you talk about tight ends in Dallas, of course, you're talking about a man who can begin to prepare his induction speech someday, Jason Witten.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. Do you? Jason Witten is so much more to this football team than a really good player. It is obviously a great blocker, receiver, all the catches, but he is the guy in the locker room that is the coach. I mean, he's the one that sets the standard. He works harder than anybody else. Nobody is ever going to outwork that guy.
On first down, Rod Smith. Nice run here. Flag is thrown at the end of the play. And it's going to go against the Cowboys.
Holding, offense, number 81. 10-yard penalty, replay, first down.
Wide out Andy Jones.
So this is clearly a team, in my opinion, Al, that's going to have to be built around the offense in the Dallas Cowboys in the early going. I mean, they have so many great players on that side of the ball. Travis Frederick, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Des Bryant, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott. I mean, you go right down the list, Jason Witten. So they're going to have to be able to carry this football team as they sort of sort through what they're going to do in the secondary, and while they're waiting out some of those suspensions for those pass rushers to come back.
Of course, a great running game, a great offensive line. Then on the other side, in terms of the passing game, you have Des Bryant. You got Moore throwing it away. You know, Chris, it used to be with another flag, so now the flags are more plentiful. Get the call from Boger in a second.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, number 48. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
You know, Chris, remember the days when people would talk about a balanced offense, and it would mean 50-50, which is about what Dallas's offense is. But now in the NFL, a balanced offense is more like 58-42 passing.
Yeah, I think the average is 40% runs in the National Football League right now. And believe me, a lot of the success of Dak Prescott came because they could run the ball so effectively. Dak was the #1 quarterback in the National Football League as far as his percentage on play-action passing.
And here goes Smith to the 45. It'll be second down. Speaking of that old line, let's take a look at Collins here.
Such a big move for the Cowboys. La'el Collins moving over to that right tackle position. He played left guard in the past. He played left tackle in college. And I always thought he was one of those guys that looked much more powerful and looked much better moving forward with run blocking. They did so much of that at LSU. Now he's got to learn that kick step. And not only does he have to learn it, he has to learn it from the opposite side of the ball. But I have to tell you, so far in this game tonight, I see more of his power, and he looks pretty good with that footwork. I think he's really been working hard at it.
Play action on 2nd and 5, and before Moore gets hit from behind, he's able to get it away and hits Brian Brown at the 31-yard line, and that will move the chains with 2.5 to go in the half.
Brian Brown working on Hayes here on the outside. Little acceleration, and then let's get out of it. You can see Hayes looking up the field and just lost sight of him. It is, people worry so much about how fast receivers are. So much of it is you have to fool that guy. It's like pitching. You've got to change speeds, and you saw a great example of it there.
Reception. This is Rod Smith to the 27-yard line, and that's going to take us down to the 2-minute warning here in Canton, Ohio. The Hall of Fame game getting the preseason underway. We'll talk to Terrell Davis next, 15:10. It has marked that preseason in special teams, over 2,000 yards in '98 and back-to-back Super Bowl wins with the Denver Broncos. And with 2 minutes to the half, Rod Smith swings to the outside, takes the ball to the 18-yard line. We go to Michelle.
Well, I'm with Terrell Davis, and it's all I can do to keep him from lifting that. No, you can't touch it yet.
I can't touch it.
No, you cannot. 11 years it took And finally, you're here. What does it mean after all this time to be here?
Oh, Michelle, it means a lot, man, because, you play this game and you hope that people appreciate it. And, for me, it was just kind of trying to play as hard as I can for my teammates and just trying to be accountable to them. So when it's all said and done, I can say I'm proud, that I performed and basically, was accountable. And so when you step away from the game and you look back and you start hearing people talk about Hall of Fame, the first time is like, I don't know, I don't belong in the Hall of Fame. And then more and more people start talking about it and everybody starts to get behind it. And the last 3 years have been incredible because I've seen every year the momentum shifting and getting stronger and stronger. And then obviously you get the call or the knock by David Baker at the door, and it's like, it's real, it's happening. So I'm taking it all in. I'm enjoying it. And it's just getting better and better.
Well, the debate was never about your performance. The debate was over the length of your career. I got to get back to Al real quick. Stand by, Terrell.
Just quickly, because Brandon Williams just intercepted that pass. It's a touchback with 54 seconds. Back with more and TD on the field after this. Factory in the town of Ada, Ohio. Population about 5,500. They call the Dukes in Ada. From the 20 after the touchback now. Gabbard has played the whole half. Throws up to the 34-yard line. Another flag. Moma makes the catch. So we had a penalty, relatively penalty-free early part of the game, and now we have a penalty on almost every play.
We need to use some hands to the face. Defense, number 74. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, first down.
And back to Michelle we go.
And I'm along with TD, and as we were saying, it took 11 tries for you to get here. No one ever debated your performance. They debated the length of your career, which was cut short by injury. So your position now, do you think this might set a tone for other guys who will have similar circumstances?
Well, I hope so. I mean, for me, it was Gale Sayers. He was the one that set the precedent, so they had something to look at. I certainly hope so. I mean, Kurt Warner was kind of short for a quarterback. Kenny Easley, his career was pretty short, so hopefully this opens up the gate for everybody else.
Well, congratulations. You're here.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it.
Al?
And deservedly, because he was spectacular before he was done in too early by a severe knee injury. Tonight's aerial coverage being brought to you by Geico looking down upon the stadium. Refurbished, and of course they put in a new field after the crazy situation last year where the field was not ready for the game and the game had to be canceled the night of the game. Gabbert fires over the middle. Boy, he has looked really sharp. And Bundy makes the catch. And they'll hustle up to the line of scrimmage and then take a timeout.
Well, and this is what you live for as a coach, just trying to get in a little bit of 2-minute work before the half. It's good for both sides.
42 seconds. Coming up, the Toyota halftime show, and look at the Hall of Fame career of Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. He will be in the booth with us coming up at halftime. Bought the Cowboys back in 1989. Did he write a book? He could write about 8 books.
I read his book. It's an interesting book. It's an interesting life.
Very.
I can't believe how many times that man has bet everything and come up a big winner.
Yep. A feature about Jerry and his career before we talk to him live at the half. From the 38-yard line. Gabbert hangs in the pocket, throws wide open. Ellington makes the catch, and he'll take the ball to a yard shy of midfield. And the clock ticking down with 30 seconds. Gabbert, 10 out of 12, 169. Again, he's not going to supplant Carson Palmer, but could he win the number 2 job over Drew Stanton? But nothing to hurt his chances tonight as he rolls out of bounds, stopping the clock with 16 seconds.
Well, that's exactly right. They're battling for number 2 right now, but also remember that Carson Palmer's not getting any younger. So then the question becomes, could those 2 guys end up being the quarterback for Arizona moving forward in the future? And at least so far tonight, you would have to say Blaine Gabbert is going to get a big thumbs up from his coaching staff.
Well, as we say, he was so heralded coming out of college at Missouri, 3 years in Jacksonville, 3 years in San Francisco, started the year last year as the 49ers starting quarterback. Hangs in the pocket, rifles one to the 32-yard line. That's caught by Marquis Bundy, and they'll stop the clock with 10 seconds.
I didn't know Gabbert had this kind of arm. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you here. Watch the way he's releasing this football, and he is getting something on it. These receivers, and he's been working the back shoulder. Let's check that release time. A little bit below average. Maybe that's been part of the problem. 0.33, that's been pretty good. Snuck one in. But I think it's been his poise in the pocket and the way that he's been able to see the football field tonight for a guy really in his first 10 days, at least of real practice time, come out and be this sharp is pretty impressive.
Carson Palmer, they're not only limiting him in terms of his preseason work, but also in terms of practice as well.
Well, and they saw it at the end of last year. They thought he had a dead arm, and they shut him down a little bit in practice. He came back, and I think Carson really is appreciating, and it feels great.
He will not try a 50-yard field goal here. Instead, send 4 receivers out into the pattern, and then it's almost picked off at the 22-yard line.
Ooh, that would have been a big moment right there for Chidobe Awuzie, their guy that's going to have to come in and make some big plays with all these new secondary members out there. Watch him break on this football and make a play. I thought he was going to go the distance. Really may have just run into the receiver as much as anything else to keep him from picking that one off. But he's an impressive young man. He really is. He played a lot of slot cornerback in college and got a lot of pressure coming on some blitzes.
Second round choice out of Colorado. Now Leone will attempt a 51-yard field goal. What could very well be the final play of the half. And the kick is no good. And there are 2 ticks remaining now in the first half. Tonight, Jimmy Fallon has Ryan Seacrest, Ice Cube, and rapper Action Bronson. The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, all new tonight on NBC.
I wish Jimmy Fallon would have a little fun every once in a while. I've never seen anybody enjoy the job so much. There he is. There's the young rookie, Chidobe Awuzie. I tell you, we didn't get a chance tonight, unfortunately, to see the other rookie, Jordan Lewis. He had a bit of a hamstring injury. Those 2 guys, 2nd and 3rd round draft picks, a big part of this season for the Dallas Cowboys.
Moore's kneel down will end the opening half. 30 minutes in the books in Canton, Ohio. Arizona 15, Dallas 10. Toyota halftime next after these messages from your. And with Play Football First Play, representatives from the 13 to 14-year-old NFL flag national champions, the girls Arlington Fusion and the boys Virginia Extreme, were honored with yesterday's final pass and delivered that football today to kick off Play Football Month. To sign up for NFL flag, you can visit playfootball.com. So the preseason is underway. The regular season starts in 5 weeks. The Super Bowl is 6 months from tomorrow. A crowd of about 23,000 looking on at the refurbished Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium here in the birthplace of professional football and home of the Hall of Fame, Canton, Ohio. The Cowboys will receive the kick to start the second half. Duke Thomas is back there to take it. Arizona to send it in the air. We'll see who comes out at quarterback for the Cowboys in the second half as we start here with a touchback. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys, and Cooper Rush is going to be the quarterback. Cooper Rush, a rookie coming in here. Take a look at the valuation of the Cowboys. Jerry Jones bought the team for $150 million, then a record up to $713 by the turn of the century. And then that stadium was built, $1.8 billion to $4.2 billion. It's the most valuable franchise in sports, period. The Dallas Cowboys. Jerry staying with us as we continue our halftime little treatise here. Your expectations overall, Jerry, for your team going into the season after that 13-3 year last year?
I thought we're certainly going to be better on offense. I really like our coaching staff. I think last year really gave us a lot of awareness. I think Jason, I think our staff, Rod Marinelli didn't need room for improvement, but I think as a staff, our players are going to benefit from it. We've got to use our draft, though, and use these young players that we drafted. We let a lot of free agents go. We've got a new system for those youth. Our system better plays to those, so that's got to pay off for us.
At the 25-yard line, second down and 10. Cooper Rush is a free agent, played his college ball at Central Michigan. And through the middle goes Rod Smith. Well, the big question all the Cowboy fans have right now is who's going to be your running back on opening night on the domestic violence investigation. You've already said reviewed everything, absolutely nothing, not one thing that had anything to do with domestic violence. My opinion is there's not even an issue over he said, she said, not even an issue there. So, Jerry, as we sit here tonight, what can you tell us about where that investigation is and what you anticipate?
Well, the domestic violence is not an issue. Zeke has had some other things that have been looked at and are being looked at. But from the domestic violence issue, there's not an issue. I think that my hope is that Zeke is with us opening night, and I don't want to get into anything that might in any way influence negatively that decision from the league office.
And when would you expect that decision? Any indication of that?
Well, I would really hope that it be immediately, and I think that we will see that imminently.
You know, Ezekiel Elliott, we saw what he did last year. Oh, my goodness. I don't know if I've seen a young running back come in the league that's more dynamic. And I still think he's got a lot more to give you in the passing game. I really think this is going to be a year he's even going to be more explosive with that. But there have been a few incidents. And he is so important. He's not the first one that you've had to coach along at this age. What are your conversations like with him at this point?
Well, first of all, I know firsthand what it's like for Zeke to go out in public. It's like a rock star. It's almost uncontrollable. And so that's a challenge. That'd be a challenge for anyone. And he's got to learn to basically meet that challenge. It's been my experience that when players have that type of attention, create that type of dynamic, they learn. They'll hit that hot stove 2 or 3 times, but then they'll quit touching it. And hopefully, and I think that's in the case, Zeke is exceptionally intelligent. He's obviously a great player, and I can't emphasize enough how hard he works. There's nobody that works harder than he does and is more professional about how gets ready to play a game.
You mentioned you don't think there's a domestic violence issue with the league. Is there something else that they are looking at in addition to that?
Well, there are a couple of issues that might or might not, and that's going to be up to the league to decide, fall in under the behavioral guidelines. And in my opinion, that we're preparing our team for Zeke and should.
You made some really bold moves this year, especially in your defensive backfield. You let go some long-term veterans. You're coming off a 13-3 year. That was a great year. I know salary cap comes into it. You got to pay some people, all that sort of thing. But what gave you confidence that that was going to be the right move for this team?
Well, our secondary over the last couple of years was built principally for a different defense than really Rod Marinelli likes. These players are built or played this kind of defense that really is comfortable for Rod. And so, number one, I like their skill. I like their adaptability. They can play some man, but they certainly are real good zone players that can break on the ball, and we need to intercept some balls. We need to play the ball. If you look at the makeup of those players we drafted in the secondary, that's their basically ID.
Just some thoughts about Tony Romo. He's in our business right now, and he's out there in a Quonset like 70 yards from the stadium practicing with Jim Nantz right now.
Al, you mean you didn't ever have a tour of duty in the Quonset hut?
You're right.
No.
High school football in Hawaii.
Did not.
There they are.
Well, let me say this. They're trying to start Tony from the ground floor up. He's roughing it out there. But seriously, I sure think that he's got an outstanding career ahead of him. I'd say singularly the biggest disappointment that I've had owning the Cowboys was not getting to a Super Bowl during his tenure as our quarterback. And that one's on me. Should have had better supporting cast around him. But having said that, this past year, although he never hit the field, Tony even elevated himself in my eyes with the way that he handled the disappointment of Dak Prescott coming in, having the excellent year that he had, and the way Tony handled that. And now I like a guy like that on my team, whether he's sitting in your seats or whether he's with out on the football field.
Jerry, it's been a pleasure and a lot of fun covering you for the last 28 years. I have to tell you, because the one thing about the Cowboys, you can love them, you can detest them, but you can't ignore them. It's great fun for people to watch the Dallas Cowboys, and believe me, our television ratings prove that every time we have them on.
Well, Al, I'll tell you, I had a good role model in Tex Fram. Now, Tex really knew how to create visibility, and he did it for those times and those days. Now, for me to get a chance to come in behind Tex Fram, Coach Tom Landry, Gil Brandt, and then basically take that and, in my mind, fill some gaps for the present time. Actually, what was missing was not the visibility, but was the juice. You got to have a little juice to come back around so you can go again.
And
Tex Fram.
There you go. You can call your first Cowboy touchdown.
Well,
there's your juice.
I knew if I could ever get up here in this booth, I could tell the story better than you guys did.
Uzama Wachukwum with the catch and the Dallas score to put you guys out in front on a 4th down and 3.
This rush is looking pretty good for a guy that hadn't ever faced a rush.
Right. 3 out of 5 for 38 yards on that drive.
That's pretty calm throw right there.
Nice. And the extra point here. And Jerry, I want you to get some sleep now. You got a big 48 hours coming up. And thank you so much.
Well, Al, thanks for being on with you guys. And this is special. What is this for you? 20, how many years here?
32 overall. 20 at ABC and 12 at NBC.
So you won't mind this 60-minute speech I've got set up. You've been there.
Might need a bathroom break.
Yeah, you bet. The great Jerry Jones with us. Congratulations again. Back after this. And this preseason football special is being brought to you by Bixby, a smarter way to use your Galaxy S8. Bixby it. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. That was yesterday. Hall of Famers Mel Blount, Will Shields, Warren Moon, Andre Reed, John Randall, and Marshall Falk hosted local youth football players for a clinic on safety and technique. Back to Canton on this Thursday night to open up the preseason schedule. Arizona took a 15-0 lead, and now Dallas has 17 unanswered points to take a 2-point lead. Sam Irwin Hill. Throw that Irwin in there instead of a Sam Hill, right? TJ Logan back to receive for Arizona. And he's going to come out, and no, he's not. He is told, just take a knee back there. By Jeremy Ross. So there is a guy who was the fantasy football darling last year, David Johnson. Since week 13 of 2015, most yards from scrimmage, most rushing yards, most receiving yards for a running back. You're talking about a guy who, with 15 consecutive 100-yard scrimmage yards, tied Barry Sanders' single-season record. A guy who has the potential to gain 1,000 yards on the ground and 1,000 yards receiving. And in the history of the league, there are only 2 guys who have done that. One was Roger Craig, and the other was Marshall Falk. Trevor Knight is now the quarterback, a rookie from Texas A&M. And up to the 27 goes Elijah Penny. But, Chris, they're talking about David Johnson as a guy. Bruce Arians saying, I'd like to get him the ball 30 times a game.
Yeah, and he said he's young and he can handle it. I don't know if that's exactly the right strategy. You'd like to keep that guy around, but talking about he's a big guy. He's 225 pounds or so, and yet he forced more missed tackles a season ago than any back in the National Football League. And the other part of him is what he does as a receiver, catching the ball out of the backfield. He has absolutely been one of the best receiving backs we've seen in the league in years.
Knight escaping and then fires down the sideline and incomplete.
Remember the first time we met David Johnson? Back in that production meeting, and it was a preseason game, so here's a 3rd-round draft pick, so we didn't really think all that much about it. And he started telling the story of his family moving from Memphis to Iowa, and he wanted to get out of some of the element that he thought the mom wanted to get him out of some of that element. Becomes just this sensational football player. Of course, Kurt Warner went to the same school and now comes in here and is playing as well as any back in the National Football League. He and Le'Veon Bell and Ezekiel Elliott sort of vying for that top spot.
So Emmitt Smith on the sideline talking to Larry Fitzgerald as Knight escapes again. And he'll tag it in if flag is thrown. And Johnson is a triplet, so he grew up with 2 sisters. As you mentioned, the Kurt Warner alma mater of Northern Iowa.
Offense, number 62. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
Daniel Munyer, just to go back to that, if he carries or touches it 30 times a game, so that would be 480 touches. And there's only one guy in the history of the NFL that has touched the ball that much in the season. You go back to 1984, James Wilder, playing for John McKay's Tampa Bay Bucks that year.
What do you think about your team's execution?
Yeah, I'm all for it. One of the great lines, and a whistle before the kick.
False start. Offense, number 36. 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
But it was for the Arizona Cardinals offense last year. It wasn't David Johnson and what they did running or even throwing the ball to him. It was the big play that disappeared. This team was so dynamic in 2015, and I think a little bit of it had to do with John Brown had the injury and the sickle cell traits, and Larry Fitzgerald, he was the leading receiver in the league though, so the short passing game was on target.
They were killed by special teams.
Yes, they were.
From the 23-yard line, Lenore to the 27. 9:35 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Jason Taylor, Michelle will be with him when we come. Double-digit sacks 6 times over 8 seasons. All-decade team of the 2000s, 7th all-time on the sack list.
He had a little wiggle to him, didn't he? He was just tall, lean, and could bend around that corner.
And fast. Ronnie Hillman is now the running back. Had a couple of good seasons in Denver. No gain there. And we go to Michelle.
Well, Al, as you said, things have really come full circle for Jason Taylor. You played your college ball about 30 miles up the road at Akron, and now you have a permanent home in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What would the 19-year-old Jason Taylor have thought of those odds?
No, there was absolutely no way. It was impossible. And you know, you say all these things about nothing's impossible if you set your mind to it. This was impossible. Me going from Akron 20 miles down the street to Canton as a resident of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it was impossible at 19. It's possible at 42, though, I guess.
Well, you got an incredible recommendation from one of your arch rivals, Tom Brady. He wrote a letter to the Pro Football Hall of Fame voters saying that you were one of the best players he had ever faced. Coming from him, what does that praise mean?
Well, it meant a lot. I mean, it was very humbling to hear the respect he had for me. And we've been friends for a long time, competed against each other for a long time. And I think just by virtue of how many games we played against each other, there was that healthy rivalry, but a great, great respect we developed for one another. And he brought the best out of me. I like to think I brought the best out of him. And having read that letter when it came in, I was like, wow, I'm floored. You know, the body of work is what it was, but for the Hall of Fame voters to look at, but for him to write that meant more to me than anything.
Well, speaking of the body of work, 29 fumble recoveries, tied Jim Marshall for most in NFL history. Defensive Player of the Year 2006, 6-time Pro Bowler. What are you most proud of?
You know, I think most proud I did it for a long time. I was able to do it, I think, at a high level, help guys around me be better. And I'm most proud of my kids and being able to be a father. That's all that really matters to me in life. Like, being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame is amazing, but you know, being a Hall of Fame dad is what's more important to me.
Go join those kids. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Al.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. As we take a look at the run back here by T.J. Logan, a flag is thrown on the play.
During the return, illegal block in the back, receiving team number 18, 10-yard penalty. Arizona keeps the ball, first down.
Well, that'll wipe out a good run back by Logan. Meanwhile, that letter that Michelle referenced, the letter sent by Tom Brady to the Hall of Fame voters, the games against Jason, some of the most memorable, well, maybe least memorable. One of the greatest opponents I have ever faced. And the word I typically use to describe Jason was tenacious. His effort was second to none. And man, when you present that as evidence, the voters paid attention to it.
Yeah, where do I vote yes?
Sure.
Because that's really all you live for in this game, is to have the respect of the people you play against. And I think Tom Brady has certainly gotten that from his opponents, and I think when he feels something that strongly, he'll write a letter, as will his coach. You know, Bill Belichick will do that from time to time when he feels strongly.
See, I always felt that, you know, it's so hard to put like an offensive lineman into the Hall of Fame. There's always, you know, does he belong? How do we know? There are no statistics that go with an offensive lineman. I always felt, ask the guys he went up against on the defensive line. This is Trevor Knight swinging to the outside. And my old partner, Dan Deerdorf, on Monday Night for years, and there was a question whether Dan would make it or not, and of course he eventually did. But I remember Too Tall Jones in an interview saying the toughest guy I ever faced was Dan Deerdorf. When Too Tall said it, I mean, that carried some weight.
Believe me, it does, because those guys know. There's a guy I played against, Frank Minifield, that played with Cleveland, that I probably never got a vote for Hall of Fame in his life. I thought he was one of the best guys I ever played against. But, you know, it's like individual matchups sometimes and what works. But when you can sustain it as long as Jason did, it's pretty easy to vote then.
High up in that sack list, 3rd down and 6, and the pass is caught at the 40-yard line, and Chad Williams will spin away. Chad Williams is a rookie out of Grambling State. They picked him in the 3rd round, and here's a guy, you know, you got Fitzgerald, you got the Brown guys and all of that, you got J.J. Nelson, but he can make a mark pretty soon.
And he's fast. He ran under 4.4 seconds in the 40-yard dash. But what you saw him do there after the catch is what they're most excited about. Here's a guy about 220 pounds, and they get him the football, and he's hard to get on the ground. He is very elusive after the catch.
He goes in motion here, sets on the right side. Hand the ball off to Elijah Penny. first-year guy out of the University of Idaho, free agent, second down.
Yeah, and we just saw Chad Williams there, the guy who caught the ball on the previous play, their third-round draft pick, coming over and doing a little Larry Fitzgerald. Here he comes in motion across the formation. You have to be able to make this block in this running game. One of the reasons that you've seen David Johnson have such success is a guy like Larry Fitzgerald and all these wideouts blocking down the field, and he fits that mold too.
2nd and 7 from the 44. And Knight plants and then throws behind the intended receiver, Carlton Agudosi, and a flag. Jerome Boger wearing out the microphone at this point. And sooner or later.
Pass interference. Defense, number 29. Spotted a foul. Automatic first down.
It's Sammy Seamster. Talking about Grambling State, Chad Williams School. Take a look at that. 4 guys: Willie Davis, Willie Brown, Buck Buchanan, and Charlie Joyner. All from Grambling. Grambling has sent more guys to the Hall of Fame than a lot of big name schools.
I'll tell you what, I got to do the Grambling and Southern Bayou Classic 2 or 3 years with my buddy Tom Hammond down there. You saw some football, saw some pretty good bands at halftime too.
Heck of a weekend down there too in New Orleans. From the 27, getting tripped up as he crossed the line of scrimmages. Penny, but then he gets up again. It's loose. Cowboys think they have it.
Very interesting. Was he touched down or did he just fall to the ground? If there was contact, there was a little contact of some kind, it looked like at the line of scrimmage, then he would be down by contact. But if not, then this ball just flies out of his hand. Right there, he got kicked on the knee, and he was down.
Well, what the Cardinals did is they raced up to the line of scrimmage because they didn't want that play challenged. But too late. Jason Garrett says, let's challenge this one. And so our first challenge of the preseason, and
see the new system.
Yeah, they will now bring
Dallas is challenging the rule on the field that the ball carrier was down by contact.
So no longer does the referee go under the hood. They're going to bring out the Microsoft tablets, put a headset on them. Now, during the regular season, it'll be in New York that they'll determine the ruling. But here tonight, just for this game, they'll determine it right here.
Here we go. You're going to see the leg kick out right there and contact made. So he is going to be down by contact. So we have this whole new system now. They'll have one of these Microsoft Surface tablets out on the field, and the referees will get a look. They'll be decided in New York. But one of the interesting things that we've sort of learned over the weekend is that a lot of times the guys would go under the hood and they'd have their reading glasses on underneath there. And so they said if you wore them under the hood, wear them out there. So guys are going to pull their reading glasses out and they're going to take a look. We want them to get it right.
And there's the replay booth.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. The runner was down by contact. Dallas is charged. It's first timeout.
More guys up there than the Supreme Court.
Jason just wanted to try it.
So they're doing it all from here tonight, but it'll be from New York during the rest of the regular season. The regular season for sure, and we assume the rest of preseason. 2nd down and 6 with the ball at the 23-yard line. And now they signal the ball ready for play. Dallas 17 unanswered points, up by 2. And over the left side goes Penny, seeing a full workload here in the third quarter. 3rd and short.
Well, one thing we know out of the quarterback Trevor Knight so far is that he's a mobile guy. You can see a lot of this offense now. He's carrying out those fakes. He's trying to set up some bootlegs, get out on the edge. He scrambled around a few times. So here on 3rd down and 3, a lot of the time these guys revert to form and do what they're most comfortable doing and running the ball.
Knight started his college career at Oklahoma and then transferred to Texas A&M, where he wound up last season. And knifing through and making the tackle that time is Kayvon Frazier. Worked his way through all of that traffic for a nice tackle, and it's 4th down.
Yeah, really nicely done there. He saw the pitch and broke off of his man coverage just in time to make the play. He's a guy that played in 9 games for Dallas last year. 41-inch vertical jump, which seems like half the NFL coming out now as a 41-inch vertical jump, which probably rivals Michael Jordan.
Matt Weil, 40-yard field goal attempt to try to give Arizona the lead. And there's a flag down, so for the moment they have the lead, but we'll see what the call is. It was a 40-yard attempt. Boger and his cohorts get together.
They're saying offside, so that would be
against it. It was a 4th down and 5.
They could ask for a measurement, right, to see if it would be a first down.
They can.
Lining up in the neutral zone. Defense, number 29. That penalty is declined. Arizona takes over. First down.
Well, Arizona just kicked the field goal, so if the penalty is declined, they'll put the 3 points up on the board.
Correction, the field goal is good.
Thank you.
He took over the lead. That's what he meant.
Speaking of field goals, Denmark flying high above Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium.
Jan Stenerud and now Morten Andersen bring in the international flavor to the NFL.
And that will be down in the end zone with the Cowboys taking over at the 25. And let's go to Michelle.
We've got Morten Andersen along with his 13-year-old son Aiden, and Morten, as we talked about, just the 2nd pure place kicker to be inducted into the Hall of Fame here. Jan Stenerud the other. What does it mean to you?
Well, it was about time. It feels great. It feels great to be in this exclusive company, obviously, and I hope it moves the conversation forward on the position of the specialist. I hope it opens the door a little bit more for others to get consideration, and it feels very, very good.
You came here as a high school exchange student from Denmark. You were a gymnast, you played handball, and you played soccer. But your high school didn't have a soccer team. So you get directed to American football, and now you're the NFL's all-time leading scorer. How does that happen?
Only in this country. This is the only country on earth where you can come with a dream, with some skill, work hard, have some will, have some perseverance, and end up in the hollow halls of Canton, Ohio in the Hall of Fame. This is truly my American dream, and I'll talk about that more, obviously, on Saturday. But it's been a great ride together with so many people who've helped me along the way.
An NFL record 565 field goals. Which was the most memorable?
They were all memorable. I don't remember any misses, so all the makes were great. But what I take away, really, Michelle, is just the memories and the gratitude for all the help I had along the way. You know, I've never met a person, woman or man, who had success who did it alone. And, yeah, I'm no exception.
Well, you know, you had some interesting hairstyles along the way, a variety of mullets, shall we say. And I know you had some Tennessee watermelon. Yeah, you had some extensive conversations with the sculptor.
That was early career, and we did have some talks about what we should look for in the sculpture, in the bronze bust. And I think we settled on a sort of a mid-career mullet. So I'm very curious to see what's behind me.
It's covered up behind you. I know you're tempted to take that. You can't take that off. Congratulations. Enjoy this with your family.
So much.
Al?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. All class. Morten Andersen.
Really good group of guys, isn't it? It's been really fun to visit with all of them.
Like I said at the beginning, a very eclectic class. 2017. As Rush hands the ball off, and this is Rod Smith lunging. You've got a quarterback, you've got 2 running backs, you have a defensive end, you have a safety, you have a place kicker, and an owner all going in.
It's pretty good. Pretty good little running back here, too, and Rod Smith. Here's a guy that brother Jalen getting all the attention, the defensive, hopefully, star. But Rod Smith is moving up the depth chart here and getting some opportunities. You could tell by the way Jason Garrett talked about him that this was a guy that they feel like is making some strides, and that backup running back position is completely unsettled for the Cowboys right now.
Rush down the right side, and that is broken up, intended for Lance Lenore. And Jarrell Carter, the rookie from Trinity, breaks it up. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
But, you know, you think about the backup running back spot. Darren McFadden's had great success in this league, over 1,000 yards. Of course, I don't know what happened last year. He fell during the preseason, broke his elbow diving for his cell phone, something like that. So he only played in the last 3 games. And Alfred Morris, here's a guy that over 1,000 yards his first 3 years in the league, 1,600 as a rookie. And Ronnie Hillman, we've seen him do some good things in Denver before, too.
Right, we picked up Hillman after the start of camp. And you got Smith chugging his way down to the 44-yard line.
You know, one of the interesting parts, we talked a little bit about the defensive backfield of the Dallas Cowboys, is one of the reasons that they were able to go almost all defense in the draft was that they were able to sign Terrence Williams, their wide receiver. When that fell into place, they felt like it was a very strong defensive draft. They ended up drafting 2 wide receivers on the offensive side and everything else on the defensive side. But it was that signing of Terrence Williams that kind of triggered that change that took place on the defensive side.
Revamp the secondary, 7 of the 9 picks.
All-star offense, number 80, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
Yeah, there's 7 of the 9 picks, as Chris just mentioned, on one side of the ball. Man, time flies. Jason Garrett, I mean, you know, we were there in Green Bay the night the Cowboys got smoked by the Packers, and Jerry Jones told Wade Phillips to come home with me. And Wade got on the plane, and it was the right time, and Jason ascended and then got the full-time job beginning in the 2011 season.
You know, it really takes some stability. I honestly believe that. You know, you look around, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have just had great runs of success, but they hire a coach, they live through, if they have bad years, they draft to the same system, and they continually get better. New England, another team you certainly would say that about. And now the Dallas Cowboys, you take out the year that Tony Romo got hurt, and they've been on a nice little run here.
Half minute to go in the quarter. Sam Hill's punt will be down at the 6-yard line. Cowboys down there with 19 seconds to go in the 3rd, and Arizona leading the Cowboys by 1. I mentioned Wade Phillips' name before.
Yeah.
He always, you know, he's made us laugh for years. How about that quote he had about the coach, Sean McVay, the youngest coach in the league at age 31 or 2 right now? We're the only team with a coaching staff that has the head coach on daycare and one of the assistants on Medicare. Perfect.
He comes by it naturally from Father Bum, doesn't he? Those 2 guys. Wade's one of the great coaches, first of all. Let's just, period. Let's just say he's one of the great defensive minds. But
I loved the game of football, and the game of football loved me back. I loved going to the meetings. I loved going on the road trips. I loved staying late for film study. And the ultimate for a football player is the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You can't get any higher than this.
Kenny Easley, speak with him in a moment. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. Hall of Fame game moves into the 4th quarter. Cardinals have the ball. They lead 18-17. Trevor Knight, the quarterback, throws about a 4-yard gain. It'll be 2nd down and 6. And let's go to Michelle.
Well, Kenny Easley was a 5-time Pro Bowler, Defensive Player of the Year. Your career cut short by injury, so it's taken 30 years for you to get here. After all that time, what does this mean to you, Kenny?
It's a great honor. I mean, when you consider that there's only 310 Pro Football Hall of Famers, and you're number 306, it's hard to get your arms around, you know, and so the wait has been well worth it, and I'm just blessed to be here amongst these men.
Back in 2002, you wrote an induction speech just in case you got the call. How much of that are we going to hear on Saturday?
the first half of it is still the same. It's only the second half that I changed. But the first half of the speech is spot on, as I thought it would be if I was elected to the Hall of Fame.
Well, that made your week a little bit easier. You know, you have a couple of big fans and fellow safeties. Hall of Famer Ronnie Lott from your era. Seattle Seahawk Cam Chancellor, a current player. He adopted your nickname, the Enforcer, in your honor. What does that mean to you to have those two guys who stretch across generations that adore you?
Adore might be strong. You know, we're good friends, and you know, Ronnie is just a terrific human being. And I mean, he didn't have to do and say the things about me that he did. And so I just admire him as a human being. Cam, I'm sort of getting to know a little bit. He's a good guy. He's another brother in faith, and a very good football player. And perhaps someday soon, in the near future, we'll see him in Canton.
Enjoy it. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Al?
Kenny Easley. Meanwhile, the play was alive with Rush going back. They originally said it was alive, and now they're going to go an incomplete pass. Arm coming forward. Ball hits the ground, and they will retain possession, and we will retain possession of one Hall of Famer by the name of Tony Dungy, who joins us now in the booth. 2nd down and 10 right here. Another flag. Good to see you, my man.
It's great to be with you guys.
What's that story about Easley that you were going to tell us?
Well, he talked about how he loved the game. This was a tough guy, Al. I'm coaching him in the 1984 Pro Bowl. We have 3 safeties. He gets hurt. They take his shoulder pads off. The doctor examines him and says, your shoulder's separated. He puts his pads back on. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm going back in the game. I can't let it's hot out here. I can't let these other 2 guys play the whole game. He went back in the Pro Bowl with a separated shoulder.
The first in the history of the Pro Bowl that ever
He
did
was
that.
a tough guy.
I guarantee you. Oh my goodness. I played against Kenny Easley. You don't have to sell me on how tough a guy he is. He was a stud, and he was fast, he was a big hitter, and he was a presence in the middle of that field. You did not have to. Every wide receiver on the field knew exactly where Kenny Easley was.
Tony, you went into the Hall of Fame last year, so a very exciting time, obviously. Now you're kind of a veteran. Now you're back here with the new guys. What's that like?
It's a completely different feel. You feel like you're one of the guys. Everybody's saying hi to you, and I'm welcoming LaDainian Tomlinson, saying, hey, you're going to really enjoy this. Jerry Jones, got a chance to see him. It's a special weekend, and once you're in, it's hard to describe the feeling.
And it's the kind of weekend where, you know, if you're a Hall of Famer, you're not going to miss this.
No,
you're going to come back every year.
Not. Absolutely not.
A little read option here.
Yeah, Cooper Rush showing us how to do that, and certainly, Tony, you know how that breaks down a defense. That backside defensive end wants to come crashing down there and stop the run, and just an occasional quarterback run like that will break your spirit.
Slow a lot of the pursuit down.
Sure does.
Ball at the 25-yard line early in the 4th quarter. Arizona led 15-0 at one point, now up by 1. Ronnie Hillman. A flag is thrown. You know, Tony, the fans are always asking those of us, you know, inside the business, who do you like? And everybody, of course, likes New England this year. How can you not?
Holding, offense, number 65, 10-yard penalty, replay, 1st down.
Nate Thieker. And then people say, what's going to be the surprise team? What team do you think, you know, will ascend this year? Who might surprise us?
Let me give you a couple. One in the AFC and one in the NFC, because they've got good ascending quarterbacks. Tennessee Titans, with Marcus Mariota, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Jameis Winston.
You've got it. I agree with you.
Those young guys are taking leadership roles, and their teams are going to come on.
And they're better around them, you know, and they just really are. So now you start to say, are we seeing that next generation of quarterback now start to take hold? What Dak did last year was just simply so impressive. Russell Wilson's not that old. Tom Brady celebrating his 40th birthday. Carson Palmer, you know, is So now we're starting to see that next move of guys coming in there.
And these quarterbacks, Mariota and Winston, now that the coaching staffs and the GMs have had a couple of years with them, what do they do well? What type of guys can we put with them to accentuate their skills? And I think they're going to come on, both of them.
2nd and 7 here. This is Ronnie Hillman, and he gets decked back of the line of scrimmage. And this rookie Buda Baker having a nice game tonight, Chris.
No question about it. If there's one guy that sort of stood out on the defensive side to me, it was Buda Baker tonight. He has made some big plays in big moments so far. Tony, watch him filling in here in the running game, making that hit in the backfield on a big play. There he is, a little bit of coverage, flipping out. He knocked the ball down later, playing pass coverage right here. And you can just see some of the talents, because he is a guy that, a lot like Tyrann Mathieu, plays all over the field. He can play in the slot, he can play outside, he can play safety.
There's a jump ball in the end zone and incomplete. Andy Jones is there, covered by Jarrell Carter, so that'll make it 4th down.
And especially, Tony, on a defense like this, that wants their base defense is rushing 5, playing man-to-man with a free safety in the middle of the field. Your safeties have to be able to cover, and they have a couple of them now.
They really do. And Chris, that's what you're looking for as a coach in this type of game. You don't care about the score, you don't care about a lot of things, but you want to see a couple of your young players flash and do the things that you think they can do, but do it in a game.
Well, mission accomplished so far for Buda Baker. A guy that moved on was Tony Jefferson, and he goes over to Baltimore, and he was a bit of the enforcer back there, and he got to be much better in coverage, but he was a big hitter coming up on some of those run plays too. Need a little of that too.
Timeout was taken here before the field goal attempt. Down to Michelle.
Well, in high school, Buda Baker won 13 state titles in football and track and field, and he said it was amazing. We expected to win every day. Then he went to play at the University of Washington, which he described as a rock climb. He told me what helped him handle the highs and then the lows was the example of his mom, Michelle, who raised Buda and his 7 siblings on her own. Buda said she never complained, so we never complained. All she asked of me was to be a great person.
And he is on his way to making a mark with the Arizona Cardinals. We'd be surprised if he doesn't do something before the start of the season to cement a pretty key role in that secondary. Now an attempt by Sam Irwin Hill to try to give Dallas the lead again from 43 out. And Irwin Hill's kick is good. So the lead seesawing back and forth now with 10:49 to go in the 4th. Dallas up by a deuce. Here's schedule helps too.
Oh yeah. NFL helps, all that stuff. We probably get a gold T-shirt. We don't get a jacket. We get like a gold T-shirt out there, a hat or something.
We get a tank top.
That'd be good.
Sam Irwin Hill's kick fielded about 6 yards in. This time Logan's going to come out straight up the middle, up to the 23-yard line. So Tony, go back to the gold jacket dinner tomorrow night and the induction ceremony, and what are these guys going to be in for over the next 48 hours?
I'll tell you, Al, everything about the weekend just gives you goosebumps. But for me, it was that gold jacket dinner that they're going to experience tomorrow night. They tell you you don't have to say anything, so you think it's not that big a deal. But you walk through these Hall of Famers, and there's guys you coached, Brooks and Sapp there. Guys, I saw Lem Barney, and I was Lem Barney in the backyard as a little boy, and Bobby Bell, and guys that were your heroes. And all of a sudden, you're in the middle of it, and you say, I am one of these guys now. It was really, really unbelievable for me.
This is Logan up the middle to the 39. Almost has to be an out-of-body experience.
It is. It is. You're standing there seeing all these great athletes and coaches, and you walk down through them, and then your presenter takes your jacket off and gives you the gold jacket, and you say, I'm one of these guys. You can't believe it.
Yeah, I felt that way being in that room, and I had to buy a ticket. So I can't imagine what it's like to get one of the jackets.
It's a spectacular night. As moving up to the 42-yard line goes T.J. Logan. It's 2nd down. Clock ticking down to 10 minutes remaining.
This TJ Logan's got a little pop to him. He's a 4.37 guy, can run. We saw him. I was impressed on the punt that he caught. A lot of guys would have let that ball hit. He comes flying up there, stretches out to make a catch, breaks it off, penalty on the play. But this team desperately needs to be better in the kicking game, and Logan may be a key to that.
Terry Allen coaches the running backs at Arizona. He played for us when I was with the Vikings. I asked him before the game, hey, who's the young guy I should keep an eye on? He said, watch 22 Logan. He's got something.
Fastest running back at the combine in Indianapolis this winter. Pass here is incomplete.
Stuck his nose in there a little bit. You know, he's not a big guy, but going to go out and maybe wrap his arms around a little bit too. Watch the block coming over this way.
Knows who to pick up, steps up there. Quarterback kind of bails out of the pocket on him, but he did his job.
He wanted to make sure.
Yeah, maybe
Let me see him on film a couple of times.
3rd and 6. Knight under pressure, and he's going to get it away. He's outside of the pocket. There's a face mask call that's going to come up as well. So he escaped, and Lewis Neal, a rookie out of LSU, grabbed him by the mask.
Grabbing the face mask. Defense, number 66. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
You get so desperate when you get close to those quarterbacks, you just grab anything you can. The one guy, Al, that we haven't talked too much about so far on the Dallas defensive side is a guy named Charles Tapper. He had a back injury a season ago. But they feel like that if there is that extra guy over there, number 99, that could help fill in during some of these suspensions early in the season, that this is going to be a guy that may well take that next step up and could be an important factor.
Tapper was picked in the 4th round by Dallas last year. That sounds familiar. So was Prescott. And Tapper was picked before Dak. That Knight going deep downfield, spinning around, trying to get it under wraps was Larry Clark, but can't. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Well, there's another Cowboy draft pick, Marquez White, playing on the outside. And here's a guy, kind of an interesting story, Tony. He played basketball and football his first 2 years. Finally, after 2 years at Florida State, decided he was going to go football only. Ends up starting the rest of the time. I think was captain of the football team down there. And now here he is playing for the Dallas Cowboys. And as young as they are in that secondary, these guys are going to have to perform.
And you heard Jerry Jones talk about the style of player they're looking for. They want some interceptors, some guys who can play the ball, and that basketball skill will come in handy for him.
And Knight finds the open man, and inside the 20-yard line goes Krishan Hogan, rookie from Marion. First down.
Yeah, nicely done that time by the quarterback Trevor Knight, and you're going to see pop open in the middle of the field. Right in here, stick his hand up in the air, and Trevor Knight did a good job finding him.
Knight looking pretty good for a guy who's number 4 on the depth chart. Trying to open some eyes around the rest of the league, if nothing else. 8.5 to go in the quarter. TJ Logan. Meanwhile, Tony, Blaine Gabbert looked pretty good tonight.
He really did. That's got to be the one thing that Bruce Arians is really happy about. You want to see that backup quarterback come in there. He played with poise. He hit the open man. As the one bad throw that was almost intercepted, but other than that, I thought he threw the ball very, very well.
I was surprised how live his arm was. Maybe I just had not seen him play enough, but he had some zip on the ball tonight.
Well, he got to stand in there, wasn't rushed much, and he looked like he knew where he was going with the ball, very decisive.
Can you imagine all the different, every year a different head coach and coordinator trying to, as a quarterback?
That is so hard to do, and you look at the quarterbacks who have played well, you know, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, they're in the same system. They do it over and over. They grow with it. That's what you need.
How about that guy? How long has he been in that system?
Yes, and he is selling that system to these players. Very, very special man. Coached for me for 6 years, and he's just fantastic.
I tell you, maybe the coaching job of the year last year, what he did with that defense. I didn't think they were going to be any good at all. I really didn't. Number 5 scoring defense, number 1 rushing defense. Unbelievable.
Well, the one thing about Rod Marinelli, he does not believe in excuses. We've got to go out there and get the job done no matter who's playing, who gets hurt, who gets suspended, who gets hurt. It doesn't matter. And I think he's sold that philosophy to these players.
Now, does he? Did he get the whole loaf thing from you? That's, I mean, what he considers a loaf looks like a 100-meter dash at the Olympics to most people.
He explained that to our defensive line when we first got to Tampa. If I ever see you change speeds on the field, it's a loaf, because either you sped up because you weren't running hard or you slowed down. So you got to run 100 miles an hour every second.
Watt could have given him the lead, but he misses, just like last year, 20-18. Who can go home tonight and begin to write their Hall of Fame speeches.
No, they really can. Two great players, and you guys talked about it earlier in the broadcast. Great leaders, too, on their team. They set the tone for everybody on the team.
I'd like to be Larry Fitzgerald's travel agent.
Amazing.
He does a lot of stuff in the offseason.
Take a guess how many countries this guy's been to.
I can't even imagine. I see him on social media everywhere.
Hit him with it, Al.
97.
Really? Wow.
I saw his dad is here tonight.
Yeah.
I said, how many have you been to? He said 3, including the United States. I said, what? So Larry only needs 3 more. He's missing all of the Scandinavian countries. He can do that in 2 days.
He'll get there.
Oh, yeah. Maybe Anderson will take him. Tillman gains 2. Let's go to Michelle.
All right, well, I'm with the well-traveled Larry Fitzgerald. You know, it's always special to be in Canton, but it's a little bit more significant for you because of Kurt Warner. What was the best thing about playing with Kurt?
Well, I learned so much just as a man. He taught me how to work, and, you know, there's so many stories. There's one that always stuck out with me. We were playing late in the season one year, and I remember he tore his knee, and he ended up missing the rest of the season. He had his twin daughters, and Brenda was dealing with a blood clot. You know, any one of those 3 situations would have sent most people in a tailspin, but Kurt never changed. He was always the same person every day, even though things outside the ball were going haywire. And, you know, that showed me a lot about who he was as a man.
Well, I think you learned that from him. You know, last year at 33 years old, you had the most receptions in the league. What is your secret to this fountain of youth you seem to have found?
Well, my boy Antonio, he took games week 17 off and allowed me to go ahead and do it. You know, so shout out to my guy Antonio for allowing me to do it. So, you know, that wasn't my doing.
It's your 14th season, Carson's 15th, and we always hear about that kind of shrinking window of opportunity. What are your expectations for this season?
They're the same always. You know, we want to be able to win the NFC West, win our conference, and get a chance to play in the Super Bowl. That's the same goals. They're never going to change, and you know, that's what we're working towards.
Thanks for the time, Larry. We'll be watching.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks, Michelle.
Al?
All right, thanks, Michelle. You know, guys, I can't look at Larry Fitzgerald and not think about 2008, that postseason. That's as good a postseason as any player's ever had. 4 games.
Tony, I don't know how you feel about this, but he was going to go to the Hall of Fame anyway. But he reminds me of some ways of Hines Ward and Bruce Arians' offense. And Hines was then asked to block, almost like a fullback at times, right at the point, taking on big guys. They come here, Fitzgerald's asked the same. He didn't want to do it at first. He's embraced that role and has been just unbelievable asset for this offense.
Pick up on that on the other side of the break here. 5.5 to go in Canton. Did a good job with this stadium, I'll tell you that. They used to have just benches and bleachers and all of that. Now you've got the individual pews.
Fantastic job.
And 1 outpost.
The Wild West out there where Nance and Romo were doing the game tonight. I think the boys have packed it in. And going deep downfield and getting open and maybe losing it in the lights or losing it, period, is Chris Hubert. So he looked back, couldn't find it, incomplete. 2nd down.
He couldn't find it because it landed out of bounds.
Pass rush just forced him to throw it a little quicker than he wanted to.
Tony, how tough is it to trust young guys in the secondary? I know young guys in general, but in the secondary, you're thinking one mistake back there and it's 7-0, and we've got a lot of work to do.
It can, and that's why you really have to make it simple if you're going to play young players in the secondary. You can't complicate it.
2nd and 10. Penny stopped for no gain. We go to Michelle.
Well, Cardinals rookie running back T.J. Logan, who you guys were talking about, he's been impressive tonight. He went into the x-ray room with a wrist injury. You know, I spoke to him before the game. He was really excited about making his mark on special teams here. But at the moment, getting his wrist checked out, guys.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Cardinals will fly back to camp after the game. You know, the Cowboys are going to stay here. They're up in Cleveland, work out tomorrow, and they'll all be here for the Jerry Jones induction on Saturday night, and then go back to Oxnard. 3rd and 10, and airing it out downfield and a little too far. It's incomplete, intended for Larry Clark. It'll be 4th down. Tony, I'm curious. Just weigh in on one thing for me. Everybody talking about Colin Kaepernick right now. I know you were on Mike Florio's show today talking about that. What do you see happening here in the next couple of weeks, if anything?
I don't know that a lot's going to happen. What may happen is somebody has a need at quarterback. When they feel Colin Kaepernick can help them, that's when he's going to get signed. Wow.
Oh, my God.
The ball is loose, and then it's picked up.
Somebody's going to get signed, and somebody's going to get cut.
Chad Williams will go in for the score.
Now, they're saying that the ball was hit off of one of the Arizona Cardinals, so it gave him a free shot at that ball. And if that's right, he is right.
Right.
Lance Lenore, a heads-up play if that's what happened. Jason Garrett.
A little conference here.
Illegal touching at the 25-yard line. It'll be Dallas's ball, 1st down and 10 at the 25.
Yep. He saw it. It's a good play. It's a free play. Once it hit the Arizona defender, that's it. It's a free play. You can't lose a fumble. He knew the rules.
And so the Cowboys maintain the lead, keep the ball, 4.5 to go, and start from the 25. Anyway, Tony, we're talking about Kaepernick.
Yeah, and a lot has been made of it. Everybody has an opinion, but it does come back to, okay, there's some things going on. There's some distractions. Is Colin Kaepernick going to help us win games? That's what it comes down to. And right now, people are saying, I don't think so. And that's where it is. And how will that change? I'm not sure, other than someone getting an injury where they now need a quarterback.
Of course, the speculation every time a quarterback gets hurt, and that happened today in practice in Miami with Ryan Tannehill. Everybody says, well, are they going to sign Kaepernick now?
Is this the spot? Colin Kaepernick was a good player, and in the right system, he can make plays in the NFL. He's proven that.
He had good numbers last year. It's like 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, something like that. I mean, it was no slouch of a season.
And he took over for Blaine Gabbert, who was the starter for the first 5 games, and then Kaepernick got the job back.
You hear a lot in his physical, his weight, and how committed is he, all those things. I think that all goes out the window when you evaluate. And can this guy help us? And is he going to be simply a backup quarterback and a clipboard holder? Then maybe I don't want the distraction. But when someone says, hey, this guy can help us, he'll be signed.
It was interesting with Baltimore basically having to make that decision with Joe Flacco being injured, and would that be the team? And basically Steve Bisciotti threw it open to the fans. He wanted to hear what everybody was going to say about it.
My question would be why?
Yeah. I think that was the question that came from Ozzie and some of the people from inside, John Harbaugh. And it's the NFL, as well as I do. If a quarterback can help you win one game, I don't care. He came from planet Mars. I don't care. Just get him in here. Let's do it. So, I don't know enough about the situation. It's hard unless you've actually interviewed him. Have you talked to him to know, is he all in on football? Is he in the kind of shape he has to be? Because those are the rumors that get floated out there.
I haven't talked to him, but in talking to the San Francisco people and Chip Kelly, Chip never felt that was a problem. The commitment and doing his job, and as you said, he had a good year for them for what he was asked to do. So I don't think that's an issue.
Be 2nd down and 14 here, and a timeout is taken on defense by Arizona. Always a little dangerous when you go to the fans for advice. Jimmy Haslam went to Skid Row once, and they told him to grab Johnny Manziel, as I recall.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, there's a guy I get excited about a little bit. Anytime you get a chance to see a young man sort of come back from injury, and Jalen Smith was such a dynamic player at Notre Dame. God, he's a great young man, and they talk about how wonderful his attitude was in the last game of his college career in the bowl game, and what looked like kind of a nothing kind of play. Gets hurt for the first time. He was telling us the first time he's ever been injured. Sits out the entire year. Thank God now that he is feeling better, and that foot is now starting to, he can lift it now. That was the issue. He couldn't lift his foot, and now he can. And I think he's very confident he's going to be a player for them this year.
Well, his brother is tearing it up, Chris.
Yeah, Rod's getting he's getting a lot of action, isn't he? And you know, he might be one of those guys that surprises some people, that, you know, they feel like he can come in and block a little bit, do some protection stuff, so it'll be interesting.
Carried 15 times tonight, 46 yards, and he's caught 3 for 25, including a 12-yard gain here to set up a 3rd down and 2. And this will take us down to almost the 2-minute warning, but
Timeout, Arizona.
Timeout taken by Arizona. Here was Smith working out Jalen before the game tonight.
Tell me what you see, Tony.
I see a little bounce, and I see a guy that doesn't look like he's worried about his leg. So that
got Sean Lee right there.
He wasn't ready for Sean Lee, that's for sure. But he looks like he's not thinking about it, and I know that's got to be a good feeling for the Cowboys.
Yeah, he said that they just had to let it heal. That whatever the nerve, he said, heals at 1 millimeter per day, right, Al? Wasn't that what he said? Like 1 millimeter a day. And they were confident it was going to happen. And it was actually the Dallas Cowboys team doctor that did the surgery on him. And so the Cowboys had some insights as to his recovery period.
Well, we wish him the best. They're going to spot him throughout preseason. Hope to have him ready by opening night. All-out blitz here, and they're going to be stopped short of a 1st down. Connor Hamlet, one of the Dallas tight ends, is forced out of bounds there. It'll be 4th down when we come back at the 2-minute warning in Canton, with the Cowboys leading 20-18. Football-themed amusement and water park, brand new hotel, and a player care center, all in place for the NFL centennial season in 2020. What a job they've done. We've been coming here for over 30 years with George Hill and Malibu Kelly Hayes, and it was a whole different scene. High school stadium. Of course, they had the disaster last year when the field was unplayable. They had to cancel the game, but they cleaned everything up. New field turf here. Done a heck of a job.
What do you think about this, Tony? Is this just a hard count, or are they really going to go for this?
No, I think he's going to see what his offensive line can do here.
4th and 1, indeed he does, and they flip it back to Smith, and he's going to pick up the 1st down. A stiff arm, a hurdle, and a flag at the end of the play at the 33-yard line. Impressive night for that man's brother. But
illegal block in the back. Offense, number 18. 10-yard penalty. After enforcing the 10-yard penalty, the result of the play would still be a 1st down.
Right, because the penalty's enforced from the spot, so he already had picked up the 1st down. Back it comes, but they can run the clock out now.
There's going to be the block in the back, but because it took place there, they're still going to end up with the 1st down out of it.
And they'll spot the ball at the 47-yard line. Arizona can stop the clock only once. And so the Dallas Cowboys appear to be on their way to a victory in a game in which they trailed 15-0 early on.
Good boys.
Juggle there, but he holds on. And another flag. Let's see, we have had 18 accepted
Holding.
penalties.
Offense, number 62. 10-yard penalty. Replay 1st down.
No, they really shouldn't take this penalty here.
Exactly.
I think Bruce Arians is telling them that now you want to. This gives them a chance to get the ball back.
Right.
If they
Stop
don't
the
take
clock.
the penalty. Stop the clock.
You're saying that right now? See?
Second down.
The old coach in you.
Oh, I know that because that's the one thing you tell your offense at this point. We cannot have a penalty. That's the only thing that beats us here.
So with 1:47, the ball is now spotted at the 46-yard line. Cards have one timeout. It's now 2nd down and 10. Now what?
12 men on the play. Defense. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
All right, that makes it 2nd down and 5.
Arians the other day at a scrimmage, a guy makes a diving catch down the sideline, young player, 2-minute drill, tick, 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 all that stuff going on. Doesn't have the presence to roll out of bounds, right? In college, you're down, and how happy do you think Bruce was?
Did he go ballistic?
He will. This kid will never forget that he got to roll out of bounds.
Cowboys trying to run out the clock. And here goes Smith to the outside. Pretty good slip move there. Ball taken to the 39-yard line. And Arizona takes its final timeout. By the way, a couple of people being honored this weekend. David Hill, one of the all-time classics, former boss of yours, Chris.
Yes, indeed.
Man who launched Fox Sports in the 90s when they got the NFL contract and made that division what it is today. The great David Hill. And Ed Werder, terrific reporter, started in print in Dallas, then went on to ESPN, did yeoman work covering mainly the Cowboys and overall the entire National Football League, won the Dick McCann Award. So congratulations to those guys.
My gosh. Good memories back in the days.
Oh, yeah. Hilly
was unbelievable. He wasted money putting anybody but him on camera. That was one of the more entertaining guys that television has ever known.
And he's still going strong, too.
Oh, man.
In his own company.
A little stint with American Idol, right?
Oh, yeah. Tons of projects. The Oscars as well. Brian Brown gets tackled at the 40, so they will not be able to run the clock out. But the clock here on the next play should be down under a minute.
All right, Coach. Now you punt it, don't you?
Punt the ball down there. They're going to have about 50 seconds. That penalty really hurt Dallas. The game basically was over, but now they're going to have to play defense one more time.
So young Knight will have a chance perhaps to come back in here and pull off a miracle finish such as it would be in preseason. It's miracle with it's a lowercase m.
I think your miracle has been redefined after the Super Bowl, hasn't it? I know Al's cheering for a long snap over the head here in a safety.
Why not? Let's just play deep into the night. Jeremy Ross is back to accept the kick if it doesn't go into the end zone or out of bounds. Sam Irwin Hill has done a ton of kicking tonight. Takes a nice, backspin for him, doesn't go into the end zone, and then gets down to the 20-yard line. So field goal would win it, so they don't have to go the entire distance, maybe about 60 or so yards, and would set up an interesting ending.
But as a coach, you got to love this situation at the end of the game.
You
You're going to see your
do.
guys in game-winning situations on offense and defense.
And you've got some young guys that you want to see how they perform if they can do it under pressure.
Well, if the game really counted, then Phil Dawson, the 42-year-old, has been in the league for 2 decades and was acquired in the offseason from San Francisco to shore up that kicking group. He would be the guy with you on the line. Meanwhile, slipping out of the pocket and giving himself up at the 26-yard line, but the clock keeps on ticking. It'll be second down and 4, and he'll spike it here to stop the clock. It'll be third down and 4 with 28 seconds. Tony, you had no idea we were going to work this hard tonight, did you?
No, I didn't know we'd be a 2-minute drill here at the end.
Right. Well, thank you for staying all the way.
Oh, it's been great.
I know you probably wanted to get back there to the hotel and reminisce a little bit more with some of the guys.
Oh, actually, I got my 2 boys here, and they want to get to the Dallas locker room and meet Ezekiel Elliott.
How cool is that?
We were staying till the end of the game no matter what.
Beautiful.
Your boys and everybody else.
Corner back up.
Fires over the middle. That's caught.
Ouch.
But up at the 36-yard line, and precious seconds will go a-wasting. Down to 17, 16, ticking down.
That's it. You almost have to go. It's tight if you could get a completion and get up and get it stopped at this point. I don't. That wasn't the most efficient use of those chances. You know, you want to get something going, but at the same time, you have to realize you got to get the ball down to the 30-yard line down here. So you've got some deep crossing routes. You have to do something to work it down the field and take a chance.
Outside, no question.
Better get out of bounds if nothing else. On a deep ball, so Knight will sling it underneath the 45, and that should take us all the way to the finish line. Dosi, maybe one more spike, maybe not. And that will end the game, at least unofficially. We'll wait for Boger's call.
This is the end of the game.
Thank you very much, Jerome.
Was there any doubt?
Yeah, it makes it official. And the Dallas Cowboys come from behind, win it by a score of 20-18. Tony, we thank you again. We'll see you in Foxborough. Coming up next, except on the West Coast, local news. Later tonight, The Tonight Show with